Week 8 on the platforms of the Gentlemen's Sim Racing Club for Term 2 of 2023, and we start Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport by going to the great Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium, one of the all-time top-shelf sports car racing venues in world motorsport. In fact, any category is good around this venue. We've had some TCR here before, we've had some supercars and some Carrera Cup, but sports car racing and GT racing is top shelf. And tonight, our entree is Waste Options GT4 from this world-famous 7-kilometre venue. Good evening, everybody. I'm Zach Caban. Alongside me is Liam Banks and Adam Lavis. And, of course, you just saw a glimpse of where we're heading to straight after we're done here with Waste Options GT4 to the Nürburgring in Germany for the final sprint round of the Waste Options GT3 Championship for this season. And another world-famous Grand Prix and sports car venue. Time and, well, actually, let's have a look at the track temperature and the track conditions here for this race, if you don't mind. Clock moving twice as fast as it would in the real world. Checkered flag is out on this qualifying session. So the race start is going to be pushing 9 o'clock in the evening, which will set us into the sunset there at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Yes, hello to all of our friends in Queensland and Western Australia, of course, that wouldn't know what a late sunset is if it bit them on the toe.
It'll reset in a second on the race and get to the grid.
Yes, gotcha. Thank you. June 4, 2023 is what it's showing as server time at the moment. Of course, it is June 5, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And on that note, I should say happy 61st birthday off the top to my old man, who is celebrating that one today. Another milestone, another lap around the sun done. 23 degrees the ambient and 24 on track at the moment. Again, we'll update you once we get on the grid as to what all that has changed to. There are the championship standings coming into this round. 287 for Jared Knight, 283 for Jordan Malcolm, 267 for Michael Hammond, 260 for Sam Muir, and 245 for Nick Wood. So 42 points covers the top 5 at the moment on the back of an absolute shocker for Nick Wood last week. Drop points are already in the equation here, and that means bad news for Nick Wood there, unfortunately, with that 1 point last week. But we'll see how it balances out in a few weeks' time when we end this championship on Monday night, June 19. Beyond the top 5, positional battles at play in 6th place between Alan Dawson and Nick Fodiatis, in 7th place in 8th place Sam Chapman and Dale Sharp, and also Neville Mell just a little bit further beyond that. Having a look at the grid for the opening race of the evening. 3 races on the program tonight. Of course, we've got sprint racing coming away in GT3. Jared Knight and Jordan Malcolm ready to renew hostilities. What a cracker of a race these two put on last week on the streets of the old Grand Prix of Belle Isle Circuit in Detroit, Michigan. A 2nd row, Sam Chapman and Braden Sagasa. 3rd row, Jake Jackson and Sam Muir. 4th row, Nick Wood, Gary Cousins. 5th row, Matt Stewart and Nick Fodiatis. 6th row, Russ Green, Michael Hammond. 7th row, Dale Sharp and Jeff Adams. 8th row, Dane Snowden, Richard King. 9th row, Paul Wood. Good to see him on the grid again. And Eduardo Zamora. 10th row, Trent Allen and Dale Jeffries. Over the page again. And it's a huge field tonight as well, ladies and gentlemen. 38, if you don't mind. Brett Bradbury and Robert McGrath from the 11th row. Brian Bullock and Joe Baldwin the 12th. Ben Woods and Sean Rees the 13th. Brendan Van Ryn and Greg Padgett the 14th. Wayne Edwards and Jacob Hughes the 15th. 16th row, that's where you're going to find Benjamin Hutchison and Phil King. 17th row, Brendan Sober and Mitch McIntyre. 18th row, Stephen Brooks and Philip Howe. 19th row, Luke Hay and Adam Johnson. Good evening to you, Liam Banks. Nice to have you on board on a Monday night. Ready to go here at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. The pace car pulling away now, taking the field with them. We've got a new lap timing or scoring screen to get our heads around tonight. That's going to be part of the fun of the affair. But this is a circuit that never disappoints when we bring any array of different categories here. GT4 will be no exception tonight, and another bumper field.
Yeah, the only disappointing Spa race I can remember is the race that wasn't a race, the 2 laps behind a safety car a couple of years ago in the Formula 1. But of course that's not going to happen tonight because we are safe from the travesty of heavy rain in the beautiful iRacing servers.
For how long, though? They're taking their time. They're dragging out the debut of it. There's no doubt about that. Set for a start. Waste Options Monday Night Motorsport. Let's go. A great start from Jared Knight. Early. Sam Chapman, Malcolm. Chapman, a great start to get down on the inside to displace Jordan Malcolm. Off the start, if you don't mind. Jake Jackson and Braden Sagassa arguing over the same piece of real estate as well. Nick Wood and Sam Muir. Gary Cousins had a okay start, but he's lost out one spot early on to Nick Vodiatis, who's up 2 spots to get out. Michael having contact there coming through into Eau Rouge.
Yeah,
Just edges out Matt Stewart and holds off Gary Cousins.
Just got a look at that on the grass from the BMW, trying to get the overtake done. I think he managed to make it through without any trouble, taking a lead from the TK in the IndyCar. That just go straight over the grass, and that's a slow down. What's he doing?
Sam Chapman with a slowdown on the Camel Straight. And off!
Sam Muir.
Go Sam Muir!
That's huge for the championship.
Oh, it's produced some great racing in the last couple of weeks, GT4, but it's also caused headaches for some of our key championship contenders, 2 of them in strife early on in the piece here.
Yeah, of course, Sam with a slowdown and Samuel going off track completely. He's rejoined way down the field, all the way down in 25th place, down 19 places where he started. That is not the start he wanted, and it's only a 25 minutes race, so he does not have long to get back on the field. That's another car off in the background. Who's that? That's Stephen Brooks, so he's gone off at a very difficult corner on this track. Won't be the only person to go off there tonight, I imagine. There we go. Proven right immediately. There's another 2 cars off. One just getting the braking all wrong and going deep. The other one arriving at the corner backwards, which is never what you want to do. And Jordan Malcolm's off track, and Jake Jackson, but they're just a minor off track towards the front of the field.
Just those usual, taking a little bit too much in the way of track limits, Adam Lavis.
Man, they've got to be mindful. They've only got so many up their sleeve for the whole race. So, and it's very easy to, because it's such a fast flowing track here, you've got to commit early. So it's quite easy to run wide just like that. And it's just one here, one there, and it can add up real fast. And all of a sudden you got to start watching your P's, crossing your T's and dotting your I's to make sure you don't get any more. Otherwise the pit lane will be called.
Round they come onto the main straight. Lap 1 done. 2.5 minutes already elapsed. 2:29.726 for Jared Knight. So let's have a look at what the second lap time is here, boys, and then that'll give us an indication as to where we're going. We're looking at probably 11 laps is my guess, and it's only a guess. There will be a bit of overtime attached to it. 2:29, so let's round it up to 2.5. And remember that it is only the standing lap time, so there will be a few seconds a lap shaved off that from here. 10 times 2.5. Oh, Jordan Malcolm. That's cruel for him. It's a cruel blow to his championship hopes. Remembering that this is the 3rd last round of the championship. Oh boy, the pressure mounting early. Sam Chapman. Look how costly it was for him. Back to 12th place. And Jared Knight still the fastest driver of the race thus far, but it was only lap 1. Jordan Malcolm under all sorts of pressure from Gary Cousins and Nick Vodiatis and Michael Hammond as well. Russ Green and Matt Stewart in there behind them. I think I mentioned earlier I couldn't quite work out who it was tailgating Michael Hammond. It would appear as though it was Matt Stewart, and Russ Green has got past Stewart in the meantime. Nick Wood looking to fight back after disappointment last week, sitting there in 4th place following Braden Sagassa, who's up at a 3rd, and it's a Merc 1, 2, 3 at the moment. So making their way around. Puyong for the 2nd time. So 10 laps, 10 times 2.5 gets you to 25. They'll lose a little bit of time. They'll take a little bit of time out of that throughout the course of the next 9 laps. And they've got a splash and dash as well. So I think we'll get to 11, but it will require a little bit of overtime in the piece. Just let's have a look, if we can, Adam Lavis, at track conditions there, please, because we didn't get to update that running through the huge field. Have a look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Isn't it beautiful? 4 to 8 in the evening server time, sim time. 12 km/h winds, 22 degrees the temperature, 37% humidity, and 24 degrees the track temperature at the moment. Partly cloudy conditions. Again, a very good evening to those of you in Western Australia, those of you in Queensland. You know, the 2 states that aren't observing a public holiday next Monday when the rest of the progressive and civilised parts of Australia are. Because that's what this part of the evening should look like during the summer months, which we are now into in Europe. Down onto the main straight we go, and the United States as well. Down onto the main straight we go. 2nd saddle jab of the night out of the road. In fact, there was nothing subtle about it. It was deliberate. Jared Knight, Jake Jackson, Braden Sagassa, the top 3, Nick Wood 4th. And the fastest of the race goes to Jared Knight, 2:28.494.
Record pace. He's got 2-second lead already. That's going to put him outside of the best of the slipstream. Jake Jackson and Braden Sagasa, I think they'll get up a little bit from Jared Knight, but the real strong effect is when you're within that 1.5 seconds. So they're not going to get the best that they could. So they really want to close the gap. But what they can do here, if they're clever, is work together. You see, they're part of a team. If they can work together, slingshot each other down the straight, they should have an advantage over Jared Knight, who's got no one in front to give him a tow. Just look at that time coming down. It's going to straight down to 1.9. It's going to be down to 1.8 soon. So,
yeah, very nicely done as Jackson yields and Sagasa goes through. Other point of interest here too, boys, and it might mean that it's only a 10-lap sprint. Only 1.5 seconds away from that 2:30 threshold that time around. So the first lap, which normally isn't a good indicator as to where the track speed is, and the second lap, there's only about a second in that. So obviously Jared Knight down his pace early here. Oh, trouble at 1 for Soper. So therefore, yeah, once you look at the transit time, I think we're looking at 10 laps now all of a sudden. So 10 or 11. The bingo card's going to get a test out tonight. There's no doubt about that. Oh, geez, look at that. Trouble on the run down to Eau Rouge. And just an ongoing knock-on effect. Joe Baldwin out of business early in the piece. And Luke Hay also out, so too Philip Howe and Sean Rees. Joe's got back out there, so too Eduardo Zamora. We're down to 35 already.
So we see what happens to Samuel on lap 1 with Sol going off in the background. So just carrying a little bit too much speed, losing the rears on the entry to the corner. And that's cost him a lot. Here's Sean Rees. Let's see what happens. Him gets up on the curb. That's okay. Exit curb. Did he get on the grass? Oh, he's just pulled over. So deciding that he's had enough for tonight. And what's happening here? So this is Stephen Brooks. So tap in the back, carrying a little bit more speed than the car had. Didn't realise at the time that he would be, and just didn't compensate for the corner. Really easy to do when you're following close behind a car. It's a skill that is underrated. You see it all the time in wheel driving, your professionals, and they make it look so easy, just following within a couple of tenths of the car ahead. That is incredibly difficult. You don't realise it until you get into a sim like this or behind a real world car. You see King there, Snadden, having a bit of oversteer. Don't know from that camera angle whether he's helped around, but there are definitely some cars right near him, so we need to get a closer look at that to be sure. But either way, the result's the same. He's down in 23rd, not having a stronger race as he did last time out. So let's look here. We're going to get our answers. No, we're not, because the roof's in the way.
Yes, absolutely. 2:27.4 that time around for Braden Sagasa as well. So he's clocked up the fastest lap of the race thus far. Jared Knight still leads it by a second. Dane Snadden looping around.
Yes, thanks for getting us that view. Third time look here, we got to see what happened. Got all out of shape on the entry and tried to go around the outside. A bit of the track that doesn't ever get used, so probably not much grip out there, and he just lit up the rears, trying to hold on to his position, knew he was under pressure there. And now we're watching live with Russ Green, who's in 9th place. That's up 2 places from where he started. Ahead of him, he's got Mikey Hammond, who we know is very good at coming through the field. He's already up 4 places, as is Nick Fodiadis, 2 places ahead of him. So they're 2 of the picks of the bunch from the top 10, certainly the 2 that have moved up the most. Nick Wood is also having a strong result, up 3 places into 4th, and that's where we've seen Nick Wood all season, haven't we? On the fringes of the podium, just consistently race after race after race. Let's see if he can improve on that front end of the race, but it's 3 Mercedes out front, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, the Mercs have been strong in regards to straight line speed throughout the course of the season, and you need plenty of that around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium. Look at the fleet of Porsches though, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. 2 Bimmers behind them, and of course Nick Wood, the sole Aston Flyer, in the top 10 at the moment. There are a couple of Astons in the field. Trent Allen's also in an Aston, and so too Joe Baldwin. Porsche and Merckx seem to be the dominant forces of this championship.
And 2 Beamers in the top 10, and neither of them are Sharpie.
Yeah, exactly. He's 12th. The end lap for 10 minutes done, and dusted. Jared Knight across the line. Last time around 2:28.254 for him, 8 tenths slower than what we saw from Braden Sagasa. This time around, Knight clocks up at 2:28.550. So the pace is certainly there with Braden Sagasa at the moment. 2:27.4 backed up with the 2:27.5, and now only 0.3 of a second in it between first and second. Here comes Robert McGrath in 17th place at the moment. Sam Muir has peeled off into pit lane, boys. So there's that threshold that we talk about so often. We always wait to see who pulls the first trigger with regards to pit strategy and fueling to the flag. So between lap 4 and lap 6, I think might be, because it's such a long circuit, there will be a very limited window in terms of how early you can pit and how late you can pit. Lead change. Braden Sagassa flying high in the murk at the moment down the inside at the end of the Camels Straight. Into the lead he goes. Jared Knight, Jake Jackson, Nick Wood and Jordan Malcolm make up the top 5.
Yeah, the key thing now is, can he pull away? We talked about the effect of that slipstream. They're both in Mercedes, so the straight line speed is going to be similar. It's all going to be about who can get the best run into the straights. But if Sagassa can't pull away, then all he's going to be doing is costing himself fuel that Jared Knight will be saving instead. And it does make you wonder how much of that difference in pace was legitimate, how much was it down to the slipstream, because it can give a false impression of who's got the most pace when running in clear air. So we'll have to wait a couple of laps to see that. Of course, though, we're expecting them to pit within a few laps, so we might not get too much of a sample size before that's all ruined. Good to see Nick Wood as the fastest Aston Martin by quite a margin. The next Aston Martin is down in 16th place, and that's Trent Allen. There's not many Aston Martins in the field, to be fair. Only the 2 of them, but that's quite a big difference. You can see there's a train of 4 Porsches, and I did hear coming into this round that the Porsche was going to struggle down the Kemmel Straight, even in the slipstream, just not as fast as the Mercedes, which is going to make overtaking really hard for them, even if they do catch their competitors in the Mercedes. However, what they're lacking straight line speed, they make up for in the slow corners, which is why some of them were able to pull out some fantastic qualifying laps, and now it's a case of holding on in a less racing car. Consider it the equivalent of the Red Bull versus the Ferrari for the first 4 or 5 races of last season, before Ferrari hearts were broken everywhere when Ferrari decided that they forgot how to run a racing team.
Yes. Braden Sagassa leads this one again. Across the line, he's got Knight in pursuit and Jackson as well, but so much of this race is going to hinge on that round of pit stops, which cannot be too far away. Dane Snadden jumping up into 18th spot. Brett Bradbury and Brian Bullock getting past. Sam Chapman in the wall and Matt Stewart going for a drift with him as well.
Was there contact there? That started that. Looked very violent.
That was not good for either one of them. So Chapman in pit lane at the moment. So too Trent Allen and Jacob Hughes. Sam Muir's completed his stop. So too Ben Wood. So too Greg Padgett at the end of lap 4. Let's have a look again. Oh, jeez. Uh-oh. Squeeze job done. Gone. He didn't even see him there, I don't think.
Well, yeah, you'd probably hope that he didn't. I think that's the most likely scenario. Yes, it was a bit. It just left him no space. So, yeah, you hope he didn't see him, because if he did see him, then that's, you know, you can't consider like that with a car that far alongside, particularly in sim racing.
So it's a European double tonight on the platforms of the GSRC across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube. On the back of our North American doubleheader last Monday night. And next week, of course, these guys go to familiar territory. They go to Narellan, southwestern Sydney, to Oran Park, and then, of course, on to Sandown, which has become somewhat of a must-do stop on our calendar for GT4 for the grand finale. Over 45 minutes the weekend. What's left as far as tonight, Mount Panorama next week, so it's an Australian double next Monday night. Then on to the Red Bull Ring the week after. Lead change potentially here. Up the back straight we go. Yep, there goes Jared Knight. Back to the lead on Braden Sagassa.
Braden was very lucky to get a slow down. He was well wide going up ready on.
They have been somewhat clamping down on that rather vigorously. A couple of people already feeling the pinch with it tonight. Here they come again, the end of lap 6 now. How late will they leave pit stop? Splash and dash. Round they come onto the main straight. Knight. Knight zigs. The others zag. Jared Knight comes to pit road. So too Jordan Malcolm.
Yeah, interesting decision there. I wonder if he's been forced into that. I wonder how just how far the fuel tankers can go. Of course, Jared Knight leading the race for most of it, so he will have been using more fuel than those cars behind him. So probably not surprising to see him come into pits first. But the question now will be, what pace can he hit when he comes out of the pits, and will it be enough after like Spencer and Jake Jackson out in front? They're looking at 229s, high 228s. So that's the lap times that we're going to need to see on a full tank from Jared Knight if these guys aren't going to jump him in the stops. So close they were. You would imagine that it is whoever does the fastest laps for these next couple of laps before they pit, that will be who comes out ahead, unless there's some shenanigans in the pit lane with tyre changes or taking different fuels and being more or less safe come the end of the race.
So it's a Merc 1-2 at the moment. Nick Wood just at the top of shot there in third. Nick Fodiatis up into fourth. Russ Green fifth. Gary Cousins, Jeff Adams, Paul Wood the next best.
So Jordan's jumped Jared in the pits by a lot.
He has. And Jordan's come out a fair way ahead of Jared Knight. Actually, that's a good point.
Right in front of me. He was a long way behind going in. He's done a 2.5 second less fuel. So Jordan is banking on there being, I'm assuming, one less lap.
Yes. He's banking on 10, not 11. He's banking on 10, not 11. Keep an eye on that. Braden Sagassa, Jake Jackson, Nick Wood, Nick Fodiatis, Russ Green, Gary Cousins. But now, Jordan Malcolm and Jared Knight are the threshold. They're, of course, the front end of town, the top end of the tree.
I think
and now it's a matter of where they balance out with regards to those that have already. So what I'm trying to get at, and I'll make sense for everybody at home at some point tonight. What I'm trying to get at is the order is not cleansed at the moment. So the positions as they stand aren't a true reflection of what's going on out there.
No, absolutely not. Sagassa and Jackson, of course, the main threat to Malcolm and Knight behind. What's interesting now is that Malcolm, what's his lap times like? His last lap was a 2-minute 32.2, which is a lot slower than Sagassa and Jackson, although they did pit last lap. So it's really hard to tell how much that is due to the pit and how much that is going to be lap time. And we're not going to get an answer because the front guys are pitted. That tells me they've run out of fuel.
Top 8 all in. Sagassa, Jackson, Wood, Fodiatis, Green, Cousins, Adams and Wood all on pit road.
Yeah, everybody who hasn't pitted the slaps, Snadden, Bradbury, Stewart, all looking like they're diving into the pits as well. That's it. That's as far as you can get, which means they're going to be very marginal on fuel. So I think that spells danger for Jordan Malcolm, taking 2.5 seconds less fuel. If he can get to the end, that's going to be incredibly impressive. Let's have a look at the stop times for everybody else. You got 10.7, 11.6, 10.9, 10, 10, 10.93, and quite a lot of those are pitted a lap later than Jordan Malcolm. So Jordan Malcolm very much the outlier there.
He's the only person with an 8. The closest is Sharpie done a 9, but everyone else has done 10 plus.
And that 9 was a lap later as well.
And the other thing that might work against him is time here as well. We're going to get a good indication of that at the end of this lap. So Jordan Malcolm with 1.5 minutes to meet that threshold. I'll tell you what, he might get lucky here. Keep an eye on that clock. If that gets to 2 minutes, to 20 minutes and 6 seconds, I think he's going to be okay. 20 minutes and 6 back at the line would make it 4:54 to go. The fastest time of the night is Braden Sagassa at 2:27.4. So you just get the feeling that he might be onto something here, Jordan Malcolm.
Oh, that could be a penalty for Brad.
Yeah, that will be. That's why you've got to practice. You've got to practice your pit entry and you've got to practice your pit exit. And if you haven't, you just need to scrub off all the speed and take it careful, because no matter how much speed you lose by not taking it optimally, you're going to do a lot better than if you cross that white line like he clearly just did, because that will be a hefty penalty in iRacing. It is a penalty that ruins races, and it's so easy to do, particularly at tracks like Spa, where it cuts quite sharply as you come out of the pit lane.
I really wish SDK would fix the off-track counter for Spa, because...
Yes.
Correct.
27. Yeah, no, probably not. I wouldn't imagine. I would not imagine so. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of drive-throughs happening, in which case in which case Jordan Malcolm would be okay on fuel. And I think he's going to be anyway, boys. Look at that. 2 minutes, 4 minutes and 55 seconds to go. 4-3. I think they're going to be okay. It's a 10-lapper. They're not going to get to 11. The pace wasn't there tonight. And the transit time has carried them over that threshold by a fair chunk, by about 10 seconds. So there's not going to be much in the way of overtime tonight. It's only going to be a 10-lapper. Has Jordan Malcolm done enough to get home on the limited fuel taken in that stop? Or will that 2 seconds come back to haunt him? Malcolm, Knight, Sagassa, Jackson, Wood and Fodiatis the top 6. Jacob Hughes down the inside to try and, up the outside. Now down the inside to try and get up into 19th place. He's all over the back of Dale Jeffries like a cheap suit. Down the inside he goes. Here comes Jared Knight to the high side. Gets by Jordan Malcolm. Job done. New race leader. Oh, Malcolm actually wants to force the issue, but Knight's going to get it done. Jared Knight goes back to the lead. How long will it be before Braden Sagassa tries to go with him? In fact, I reckon Sagassa needs to get on with it. Needs to get on with it because otherwise he'll lose the toe. Jared Knight has got to the front and wants to take off. He's already half a second to the good. A lap and a half to go at Spa. McLaren, represented in this field of the form of Brian Bullock and Benjamin Hutchinson, ladies and gentlemen. I hadn't mentioned that yet. You can see it on your screen there. The fact of the matter is that we've got all 5 eligible cars in GT4 out there on the circuit at the moment, which is great. But the top 10 is dominated by Mercedes with 3 entries, Porsche with 4, BMW with 2, and Aston Martin with 1. And it's Mercedes, it's Porsche and Mercedes, 1, 2 and 3 at the moment. But look at them. Only about a second here. Separates the 3 of them. We're set for another beauty of a finish here, Liam Banks.
We absolutely are. Look at Malcolm trying to set up. He knows that if he can stay close through here, he might be able to, next lap, not this lap, although it's looking pretty close. I'd be trying to stay in the slipstream, make sure I got that down the straight, use that to defend from the car behind Braden Sagassa, and then try and stay close from here and launch a dive bomb into the chicane at the end of the race. We know that the Porsche is really, really fast in slow corners. That's his advantage. Where do those exist on Spa? At the chicane and in the hairpin. He absolutely needs to make the most of that, otherwise he's going to fall prey to Braden Sagassa behind him and he's not going to have a chance to get Jared Knight. Now, we were informed that even in the slipstream, the Porsche is going to fall back from the Mercedes, so let's see if Jordan Malcolm can do something magic here and stay with Jared Knight and defend from Sagassa. At the moment, Sagassa closest to Malcolm than Malcolm is tonight.
White flag at Spa again on the last lap, on the run home. You'll have noticed, as per usual, running not in his actual designated flag post, in fact waving the white flag with the crowd at Spa. Not sure why that is, not sure why they haven't fixed that, as well as the off track, but that's another story. Down the back straight, down the Keppel straight we go. Malcolm defending Muir to the Sagassa to the outside. Can he get by? No. Knight still leading here. Sagassa has the fastest lap of the race. They've dropped out of the 27s, they're in the 28s, this trio. But they're throwing everything at it. 4th is Jackson, 5th is Wood, then Fodiatis, Green, Hammond, Sharp and Wood. Cousins, Adams, King, Muir and Snadden take us back to 15th. Biggest mover of the night, Jacob Hughes, up 11 spots. Into 19th place from 30th on the grid. We've lost a good chunk of competitors as well along the way here. But it's still a grandstand finish unfolding at the top end of town. Can Jared Knight withstand the pressure for another half a lap? 40 seconds left on the clock. And about a third of the lap to go. Knight looking good for yet another win here. Oh, trouble! Poor Wood. His good run comes undone. Knight's there, but Malcolm's going to have a tremendous crack and throw everything at it in the slipstream here. He's got to also be mindful of the presence of Braden Sagassa. Can he defend him? Through they come. The last run to the bus stop. Knight's got this one. Sagasa backs out of it. Malcolm to defend. Malcolm sends it deep. He leaves it wide open. The door around the outside goes by to Sagasa. Knight gets the job done. Sagasa into second. They're pulling out of the move and being rewarded by Malcolm going way too deep for the corner. He balked himself, and therefore Knight was able to, Sagasa was able to come through and clean up the pieces right around the outside of the final corner. Mercedes 1-2, Jake Jackson 4th, Nick Wood, then Nick Fodiatis, then, actually Nick Wood's in pit lane at the moment. Nick Wood has somehow finished this race in pit lane, not sure what that's all about. Nick Fodiatis, Russ Green, Michael Hammond and Dale Sharp, then Gary Cousins make up the top 10. Jeff Adams, Richard King, Sam Muir, Paul Wood and Dane Snowden made up the top 15. Sagasa got second in the run to the line. And Jordan Malcolm, it looks like Liam Banks just went just a tad too deep coming into this final corner. Let's have a look at it again. No contact at all between those two cars. Malcolm's just gone for the big send and fallen short.
Yeah, he's just misjudged his braking zone there. Perhaps looking in his mirrors, trying to figure out where the attack was going to come. And then just getting unstuck. Went deep, but did the right thing. See how he really backed out of it. Just let Sagasa through, didn't risk the collision. He knew that he'd been had, and he just didn't want to take any risk of losing his podium, which is very clever. It would be very easy to get desperate trying to hold on second and cause a collision there and lose your podium altogether. And here we're going to watch a replay of Nick Wood. Does he come unstuck in the final lap as well?
I'm guessing he may have got a black flag and he's trying to serve it at the end, which actually is more costly. So if he goes to the pits again.
No. Okay, that's a bizarre one.
But he might have just jumped to the pits after the line.
Straight after. Yeah, could have done so. There he is pulling up.
What's the white flag, so?
Oh no, it's the next time round. Yeah, gotcha. We need to have another look at that then. Work out what's going on. Another great race. Jared Knight controlled it beautifully.
He really did, and he got that extra.
He's parked. That's what's confused. He's parked in the other pit lane.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, Jared Knight controls the race, and Jordan Malcolm losing that position at the end of the race for second and going down to third. That could be costly in the championship. Only 4 points between them, and that is going to increase the deficit over what it could have been had he not gone deep. And he needs every point he can get if he's going to get Jared Knight here. So what's that? That's cost him another 6 points in the championship. So the difference was 4 points. Could have been 10. Instead, it's going to be 16 points.
Oh, hang on. What's going on here? Where's Jordan Malcolm dropped to, please?
He may have also had a penalty.
Oh, no. Yeah, it's 17th.
Yes.
He's dropped to 17th. He's picked up a 35-second penalty. Can you believe that? Oh, the sting in the tail for Jordan Malcolm. Unbelievable.
But on the plus side, Jake Jackson promoted into the podium places. Of course, you never want to be promoted into there, but I'm sure he'll take it nonetheless.
So that makes it a Mercedes 1, 2, 3. And they also get 4 in the top 10 along with the 3 Porsches now at the expense of Jordan Malcolm, the 2 Bimmers and the 1 Aston Martin. Wow. So last week it was Nick Wood, this week Jordan Malcolm. The back end of proceedings and championship defining moments, Liam Banks.
Absolutely. Just want to call out for Faith. Brendan Van Ryn, number 717. In the end, finished in 28th spot, down 1 place from where he started. But I saw, with a few laps to go, he was a bit further down than that. So having a good recovery in the last couple of laps to take some positions. And we very much hope that you enjoyed the broadcast, Faith.
Absolutely. The turnout here was superb tonight. GT4 racing well and truly alive and well in this club at the moment, Liam. And I guess part of it is now becoming track selective as well, because last week the field dropped down in numbers ever so gradually, ever so marginally, and then this week close enough to 40 again.
Absolutely. It seems to be expanding and shrinking to suit the circuit, which is actually kind of wonderful. You wouldn't want to see 40 cars, for instance, around our park. Well, we would because we're sick.
That's
right.
Yeah.
But ideally, you want a few less cars around Oran Park just to make it work a bit smoother. And then at Spa, you really want to bump out that field because you can afford to have more cars all equally spaced and still have plenty of battles going on. I mean, look at this, isn't it wonderful? We've got 10 seconds of cars passing through one of the most iconic corners at the circuit. Of course, every corner is iconic at Spa, but it's just wonderful to see. And like you said, it's great to see GT4 going great guns once again and a championship battle to match.
Let's point out as well that there were some defining moments here. There were some very, very good bits of racing throughout the 25 minutes. And also, as we've found out now, a couple of stings in the tail that are going to tell the tape as far as this championship is concerned, I would suspect. Let's go around the room. Sam Chapman's here, Jared Knight is here, Jake Jackson, and Braden Sagassa as well. Hey, Braden, nice to see you back on the podium.
Yeah, it's good to be back in the lead. It feels good.
You've been, if memory serves, you've been busy with studies and real-world stuff, haven't you?
Not studies, just focusing on other leads and stuff. And I thought I would jump in tonight. So I was at Spa, and me and Jake have been doing some officials around here. So we thought, might give it a shot.
Very nicely done. Now, I was going to say, it has been a while since we've seen you. It is nice to see you back, and you've lost none of that pace.
Thank you. It's, I think me and Spa, we go together like two peas in the pot. It's real nice, and it's a good track if you can get it right. And and it was a good race tonight. Congrats to Jared on the win.
Very nicely done. Hey, you had to work hard for it though. I mean, you started fourth. Getting a move early in the piece was key. You did that. You slotted into third. You followed Jared Knight and Jordan Malcolm through, and of course when we got to the end there, the pit lane sequence was rather telling. Jordan Malcolm's gone for the short run and thought, I'll try and one-up these guys. It didn't quite work for him. And then we find out after the piece, after he went a little bit too deep into the last corner, you've been let through. He backed out of it. We found out that he's copped a 35-second penalty for a slowdown, so that elevated Jake Jackson onto the podium. So you guys will be cracking the coldies tonight, no doubt?
Yeah, it was it was very unfortunate for Jordan. He was running a good race there, and then just unfortunately ran a little bit wide and got too many incidents.
Yeah, exactly right. And given Liam and Adam both nailed the point, given how fast the circuit is and how easy they are to trigger around here, it's not surprising to see one or two drivers come up foul of that.
Yeah, it was. It's one of those things, and I think Jordan would have had a P2 there. I wasn't gonna, I know he's in a tight battle with Jared for the championship. I wasn't trying to cause anything to disrupt that. I was just trying to, I was trying to be happy with a P3, but to get the P2 was a good finish tonight.
Indeed it was. Stay with me, mate. Coming back to you in just a moment. Let's bring Jake Jackson in to have a chat on that note. Hey, Jake, well done, mate. Nice performance. You went about your business rather quietly, rather sheepishly. You kept your nose clean and you reaped the reward at the expense of Jordan Malcolm. You did, however, have to fend off and fight with Nick Wood there late in the piece.
Yeah, I had to keep my eyes on Woody for the later part of the stages of the race, but we were trying to keep it clean, saving fuel for most of the part, and then when me and Braden gone in the pits, he's blocked my pit man, and I totally drove past my pit dude, so all that advantage I had went out the window.
So you're blaming your teammate for missing your marker. Copy that. All right.
Yeah.
Before we let you go on, though, let me ask you this. The boys also mentioned during the call that there might have been a little bit of gamesmanship going on with you, pair, in terms of sharing the slipstream, sharing the tow, and going about saving a little bit of juice.
Yeah, I was saving juice. I know Gassy would have he would have been full sending it, so always let him go, and I'll save the fluids, but didn't really matter at the end of the day.
All right, copy that. Very nicely done. And nice to. Okay, there's don't even know what that is. The comment coming through there, if someone can decipher that for me, that'd be great. But before we go any further, Jake, let's talk about the reality of racing around Spa, as we say, coming into this round of the championship. You were sitting down there, and I think it was. Oh, geez, I need to have a look at the other sheets.
It's down the bottom somewhere. I've missed
ninth.
a couple rounds.
You're sitting ninth coming into this round. So that's a good result to hopefully push you a little bit further up the top 10. And a good showing of just what the Merc is capable of and what the driver's capable of on their night.
Yep, as long as you keep it clean and you don't get those off-track penalties at the end, you end up on the podium. So keep it clean, and then that's all you can do, really.
And tactically speaking, what's the plan of attack for the next 2 weeks, please? 2 Aussie tracks and 2 very different kettles of fish at that as well. Oran Park and then Sandown.
I hope you like battling, because it's all going to be about battling and pushing each other, I think. With Sandown and Oran Park, it'll be a lot of pushing and shoving. So there'll be a lot of elbows out for the next 2 rounds.
Very nicely done. And obviously the fact that you got your teammate back in here, it's good to have him back in from a service standpoint, from a club standpoint, but also from a team standpoint, just a little bit of extra morale around it.
Yeah, more purple cars on the grid helps out, so that's what we want to see. And hopefully we'll be here every week.
Listen to the chuckling of Braden in the background as well. Now, before we let you go, Braden, is this the start of a bit more of a regular presence from you in the GSRC or not?
It will have. I'll have to see. Today, I'm also doing another lead Monday night, so it's tossing between which one. Which one has the best track out of both.
Okay, righto. We'll remember that. That's good.
I'll definitely be keen to come back to GSRC. I do miss it. It's always been a great league, and it's always been great racing with everyone.
It certainly has been. Very nicely done, mate. Thank you for that. Good to have you on board. Let's press on here, guys. We'll let you two go. Jake, good luck in GT3 if you're lining up.
Yeah, I'm going to go in there with minimal practice, so there we go.
The Nürburgring awaits. Go well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Nick Fodiatis, we haven't seen him in the post-race show for a while, but very happy and rightly so with 10th to 5th, and that's, of course, on the back of the misfortune of Jordan Malcolm, which is the breaking story of the night. He will have a lot of sympathy for Nick Wood, because Nick, of course, had a very similar fate last week, albeit through a completely different set of circumstances. Let's move into Jared Knight right now. Knighty, well done. Things are looking very good as far as this championship is concerned now, with another win back-to-back.
Yeah, really needed that one, and commiserations to Geordie. He had a good race despite I think he got a slow down early and jumped me at the pit stop, which actually really surprised me. But just the legs down the Kemmel Straight was in the Merc was enough to get the job done, and then just hoped he held Braden off, because Braden was an absolute rocket tonight.
Indeed he was. And of course, from your own standpoint, obviously we knew that Jordan was up to something when he came out after that quick splash and dash. You had to reel him in. You did. And it would seem as though you had to make that one overtaking opportunity that you attempted. You had to make it stick, because you just weren't sure, given the way that Jordan operates, if you were going to get another invitation.
Yeah, 100%. It's quite a long lap, but it's and despite the straights, it's actually not that easy to pass. There's only a handful of passing opportunities around the track, so just had to make that one stick, and gave myself a little bit of extra fuel. We were very close to go on the extra lap, I think. So so I just topped her up, and I think that's why he come out in front of me. But all's well that ends well.
Absolutely, mate, and of course Spa and Mercedes seems like a good combination.
Yeah, been doing a few officials this week, so racking up the I rating, just farming it a bit. But yeah, next week's a whole nother beast at Oran Park. Yeah, not too sure how the GT4s are going to go around that.
Well, that's exactly right. Oran Park, there's a couple of different schools of thought on that. Obviously, A, which manufacturer is going to be best suited to the circuit, but also B, it could be very much size dependent. If the field's large, it could be a nightmare for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. If you keep getting the numbers that we're getting, yeah, it'll probably just be nose to tail train around the entire track for 25 minutes, which will make it very interesting.
Very nicely done. Hey, what's next for you, please?
Not too sure, mate. Yeah, just enjoying coming here on a Monday night. Yeah, so not really committing to anything else at this stage. Might run a GT3 league on Friday night if I feel up to it. But yeah, just sort of focusing on this, and yeah, the results are showing.
Yeah, well, absolutely. You've got a very nice little buffer up your sleeve now in this championship. I mean, you can't afford to cough. It's still rather tight. There's still an opportunity for someone to spring a surprise here and pip you at the post. But the advantage is looking better by the week. In fact, we can have a look at those championship points now. Jared Knight on 349.35, clear of Jordan Malcolm with that 17th tonight, rather costly. Then back to Michael Hammond and Sam Muir. Sam Muir also not having a great result tonight. Nick Wood on 290 points. So all of a sudden, that top five, the gap has ballooned out to 59 points between the five. Nick Fodiatis crept up into 6th place, but he's all but out of contention as far as the top step of the podium is concerned. In fact, he probably is. Then Alan Dawson on 204. Dale Sharp, 195, 189 for Jake Jackson, and 168 for Sam Chapman there. So Jackson has managed to move up into the top 10 as a result of that, which is really good to see. But just having a look at that as well. 1, 2, 3, 4 Mercs, 1 Bimmer, 1 Aston, and 4 Porsches in the top 10. No, Nighty, consistency is key, mate. You have proven that. And also, of course, your performances week in, week out have allowed you, or I should say, or enabled you to reap the reward of focusing wholly and solely on this, mate. So we hope the remainder of the championship goes well and that you can put the full stop on it and finish it off. Well done.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. Yeah, just consistency over the next 2 weeks, and yeah, should be good.
Indeed, there he is, Jared Knight, race winner again tonight. More wins than anybody so far in this campaign in a championship where we've seen 5 different race winners. He's got a double, he's got a triple now, and I think Jordan Malcolm's the other one that's doubled up along the way here. So very nicely done from Jared Knight tonight. Let's press on. Sam Chapman's waiting for us, and so too Paul Wood. Hey, Woodsy, I want to start with you. What happened on the last lap, please? Because that pushed you down a couple of spots, and you were slowly but surely doing what you normally do, and just quietly chipping away, having a clean run, and netting up a few different positional battles and winning those, and slowly but surely climbing the ladder, and then all of a sudden you hit a snake.
Yes, yeah. Well, the Bailey Ladders Porsche started to come to me during the race. I thought I was going to struggle a bit during quali and that, and just wasn't finding any time. But it managed to start to feel like home again, and it started to show, I think, in the lap times. But yeah, coming through that last one there, Dale made a mistake coming into the corner, and he got sort of out sideways a bit and lost a lot of speed. And yeah, so Gary and I were coming through, and he decided to straight line the corner instead of realising that there's people coming through at twice his speed. And yeah, unfortunately, he managed to drive into the side of me, which spun the car. So yeah, it was disappointing. I was actually on for hopefully another decent result. I think I was going to be 8th at that point. So yeah, disappointing in that regard. But other than that, it wasn't too bad a race. I was enjoying it. But yeah, just disappointing. I guess it just comes back to race awareness and that sort of thing of when you're driving around people, of where they are and what's happening on the track. So yeah, on the next week and see if we can get another decent result.
Absolutely, yeah. Very unlucky that you were had that slip up late in the piece, but at least you got to the finish line, mate, and you did so without triggering any penalties or the wrath of iRacing in any way, shape, or form. And to be fair, Woodsy, the way in which you go about your business, unfortunately, that mistake was the only time this evening that we focused any sort of real attention on you. But well done. I mean, 14th, not the greatest result in the world, not the worst either, but definitely room to try and build on that and grow and improve on that next week. Let's talk about next week. Oran Park. It's an old favourite for so many. Where does it sit with you?
Well, I have mixed feelings on Oran Park. I don't mind slower cars there. Faster cars, I think, can be a bit of a nightmare. But it's going to depend on the size of the grid. If everyone just leaves plenty of room and that sort of thing, I think we can have a good race. Although it's going to be a very quick lap overall and very tight, but it'll be fun. Hopefully suit the Porsche a little bit better than what the Spa did. It was I forgot how down on straight line speed the Porsche is, and you get a run on people. I think I was even chasing Dale at the end there and got a run on him down Camel Straight, and just as I clicked in the 6th gear and I was gaining, and then all of a sudden it stopped and then he just started to drive away, and I remembered the old Porsche's just not quite got those legs. So hopefully next week we'll go into our favour a little bit, so yeah, a little more pace and hopefully have a good run and a clean run. It'd be really nice.
Absolutely. And then of course on to Sandown the weekend after. Thanks, Woodsy. Well done, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, Sam Chapman. Sorry to keep you waiting there, mate, but better late than never. Unfortunately, the evening went downhill after an early slowdown, and you finished down in 23rd place, which is disappointing considering the epic run you had in qualifying.
Yeah, it was. I did a bit of practice over the weekend as well, and yeah, did a good quali lap. Came in with 2nd place, and then had a big old screen tear going into Eau Rouge, which sort of porked me. And yeah, took straight off to the runoff, and that slowdown's savage. I think it's only about 1.5 seconds, but it ends up being way more than that because it thinks you're going to come out at 50 k's an hour after the end of Eau Rouge. So yeah, that sort of all went downhill from there. Just trying to make it back up, and passing Bimmers in the Porsche is very, very hard work, and got muscled off. So yeah, that was the end of that, really.
Indeed, and as you say, it's such a cruel slowdown around here, especially when in the early stage of the race when the field's that bunched up, and then therefore it was a long way to claw back from there, and you never really got going.
Yeah, so we sort of started making those places back up. I think I dropped to about 13th or something. Sort of got up to 11th or 10th, and it's a guy. It was sort of I was behind for quite a few laps. So finally tried a relatively risky overtake, and he took a line that sort of knocked off, and yeah, then I had to sort of reset and meatball all that gear. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't my night. The dream run's over. So yeah, I guess onwards to Oran Park. Hopefully, I'd like to say it'd be a bit cleaner for me, but who knows?
Well, it's such a trigger track, isn't it? Because there's very little in the way of overtaking opportunities. It's very narrow as well, and if the field's anything like it was tonight, it's going to be logjam.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty wild. Yeah, especially if you've got 40 guys out there. It won't be long before you start lapping people, and getting out the way. Oran Park is not particularly easy through a lot of those sections. It's not a wide track, so I can see it being pretty full on. Hopefully, maybe we can secure some race control or something like that, because safety car might be in order.
I think so. I think you make a very good point. Hey, Sam, thanks for stopping on by quickly, mate. We've got to press on because we've got GT3 standing by, mate. Go well for the rest of the week.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
There he is, Sam Chapman. Quick break, back with more cars on circuit at the Nürburgring for the final sprint round of the GT3 campaign for Term 2 of 2023 when we return on the platforms of the Gentleman Sim Racing Club. Waste Options, Monday Night Motorsport. Good to have you company wherever you're tuning in on the platforms of the GSRC Monday Night Motorsport across Facebook, Twitch and YouTube with thanks to Waste Options. And we move from Belgium to Germany and move to the Nürburgring onto the Grand Prix configuration for third last round of Waste Options GT3 for this season. We're focusing on the Pro Split tonight. It is sprint racing. It is therefore going to be rip, tear, rush, bust from the outset. And there's going to be a lot of moving and shaking and wheeling and dealing going on in that second race. I'm Zach Caban alongside me, Liam Banks, and also Adam Lavis. There's the track and race day conditions for you. We're on a 5.07 kilometre circuit at 4:32 in the afternoon. Look at that, beautiful. 19 degrees, 30 on track, 63% humidity. Not much else that we can tell you with regards to that. Let's have a look at championship points. Matty Dench on top. Fair good margin, actually, that he's got over the next placed Simon Cox, 359 place, 309. Then Richard Mitchum, just 1 point clear of Wayne Hewitt, and then back to Shane Clancy, Nick Wood, and Oscar Glissett. Real tight battle there, 11 points covering 5th and 7th. And then Glenn Arnott, Matt Stewart, and Sam Muir, only 10 points covering that trio of BMWs as well, 8th, 9th, and 10th. Grid for this opening race of the night, as the field will slowly move off behind the safety car in just a few moments. Matty Dench and Simon Cox, the front row. Richard Mitchum, Glenn Arnott, the second row. 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. And all Lambo, third row of Oscar Glissett and Wayne Hewitt. Then Nick Wood and Owen Coleman from row 4. Sam Muir and Jonathan Hooper from 5. Daniel Birchall and Andrew Dutch from 6. Scott Wooden Mark Foster and Scott Wooden from 7. Stephen Gallagher and Jake Jackson, that looks like are going to start from 8. And Matt Stewart from 9. And the reason I say that is because Matty Walls dropped out of the server, so to John Wright and Dave Riddell. So we're down to 17 for the opening race of the night in Waste Options GT3. Matty Dench will lead the field to green. Simon Cox will drive alongside him on the outside. We get ready to rock and roll. Monday Night Motorsport. From the entree to the main course, from Spa to the Nürburgring, from GT4 to GT3, it's all brought to you by Waste Options. The third last outing of the season, the last of the sprint rounds. Let's do it. Let's go to work. Great start, Matty Dench up on the outside. Simon Cox is side by side with Richard Mitchum on the run down to turn 1. And Cox is forcing the issue to hold on to second. Round the outside of Mitchum comes Glenn Arnott. Can't get the job done. Wayne Hewitt's in there as well. Oscar Glissett has already dropped a spot. Clean getaway from all and sundry. Jake Jackson up 5 spots already to 13th.
Look there, Oscar Glissett on the inside of Owen Coleman. Matty Dench already looking comfortable out front, but not so comfortable for Simon Cox. He's got Richard Mitchum right behind him, Glenn Arnott, Ren Hewitt, Oscar Glissett, all there with him. Here we see beautiful livery on Jonathan Hooper. I think that's a new livery for him. I feel like I would remember that livery because it is stunning. Yes, he did, yes. Interesting to see how the cars compare here. Expect the Mercedes to go well with that top end speed that we know that it's got. Porsche should be good in the twisty bits as they always are. However, can be prone to oversteer, so we'll have to watch out for that and see if any of these cars go off. Matty Dench has gone off track. He's spun. He's off the track. What's happened there? Has he been tapped or has he looked it by himself? A rare mistake by Matty Dench. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a replay as soon as we can to see what's happened there. Richard Mitchum, the benefactor, he will now lead this race, and he's got 7 tenths over Glenn Arnott, who will be defending rather than attacking at this stage. Such is the difference in the gap between him and Glenn Arnott versus him and Simon Cox out front.
The sprint race continues.
It certainly does, doesn't it? Not a happy hunting ground for Matty Dench. It's not very often we can say that. But time and time again, we have seen him recover from a difficult race 1 to be in contention for race 2. Don't expect anything different here. He has rejoined all the way down right at the back of the field, 2 seconds off the pack. Now we have got something to watch. How far can Matty Dench get back up the field? Can he get to that ever important 10th place? A reduced grid here means he's only got 7 positions to make. You will back him to get that every day of the week, but it won't be easy. And what we don't know is, has he got damage? It looked like he was shooting off towards the wall. If he hit the wall, that's going to make it a lot tougher for him. Right, let's have a look at what's happened. So Matty Dench on the curb all by himself.
Oh, Twitch doesn't swap right on the second curve.
Jeez. So that is uncharacteristic to see the championship leader come undone in that capacity. Watch how much curb he missed the inside curb. That didn't help him. And then he took too much curb on the exit and the in the right-hander there in the Schumacher S. Jeez. So, once again, how many times have we said it, Liam Banks and Adam Lavis, over the seasons, that sprint racing continues to be the Achilles heel and the arsenal of Dench?
Yeah.
Oh, forceful on the inside. Have a look at that. Hang on a moment, boys. Coming back to you. And Hewitt, Oscar Glissett all over the back of Glenn Arnott, but duking it out for fourth as well. Richard Mitchum and Simon Cox leading and pulling away. Into the chicane, around the outside. Look at that remove from Glissett. Commitment plus to hold Blaine Hewitt at bay and consolidate fourth spot.
And just a reminder that we're doing the enduro chicane here, so it's the faster of the two chicanes. So it might take a passing spot out for the chicane, but it makes the last corner passing spot even more stronger. Oh no, this is not going well. Oh, he's pulled out. He's done that. The pull-out game is strong with this one.
Yeah, no accidental mini pieces of shrapnel being created there. Tell you what, Owen Coleman did well as well. I believe he is the Mercedes in that battle, and he had to get out of it as well. And the Oscar Glissett just didn't know that they were battling so hard, going so deep into the inside. Takes his normal line, and Hewitt and Coleman have to slam on the brakes to avoid him. So we're just seeing a replay of Hewitt and how he originally got past Coleman. Now watch this here.
There was a little touch, but just
He managed to hold his spot. Did manage to hold a spot to Coleman, but lost the spot to Coleman eventually, did Hewitt. So it didn't end out well. He's got 2 places. He started in 11th place, currently in 9th. He'll be happy with his opening couple of laps. He'll be hoping not to get undone like he did in the GT4. So I'm pointing the wrong way at one point, just carrying a bit too much speed and losing the back end. Hopefully he doesn't repeat that in GT3. So far, so good. Next on his radar is Nick Wood. Nick Wood is the BMW ahead of him. Then it's Wayne Hewitt and Owen Coleman, who we saw fighting earlier on. Samuel looks like he might shape for the inside here, going into the chicane. No, he's going to sit behind here, and he's going to make it. No, he's fallen behind, not carrying as much speed for the chicane. I wonder if that's the difference between the two. No, both BMWs, not the difference between the two cars. However, they do have the Lamborghini ahead of him, and Nick Wood is right behind him. So, what's going to happen here? Is he going to make a move down the inside? We'll wait and see. No move there. As you are, everyone just settling into this phase of the race. We often see this in the GT3s. They settle down a little bit after the first couple of laps, and then it all spices up again with a few laps remaining.
So, Mercedes leads Porsche, leads BMW, leads Lamborghini. In the early stages, in fact, there are 4 different manufacturers in the top 4, and there are 5 in the top 10. 9th and 10th, Jonathan Hooper and Daniel Birchnell in the 2 Ferraris, and then Scott Wooden in the only Audi that's factoring in the top 15 at the moment. There's another one, Mark Foster, pointing the wrong way in 17th. John Wright out there 2 laps down in 18th, in the only other Audi in the field. No Matty Wall, no Dave Riddell. They did not start this race, so we're down to 18. John Wright should still get classified. He's only 2 laps down. He should still get classified in this race if he keeps it on the track from here, but he will start from last for that second race a little bit later on. But the thing we need to keep an eye on as well, boys, can Matty Dench get back to 10th? Can he get back to 10th? Because that would give him the invert for the second race. He needs all the clear air he can get, does M. Dench. At the moment, just having a look here, Daniel Birchnell has a 3.3 second buffer on Scott Wooden, who is 11th, but has Dutch Dench down the inside, gets by Stephen Gallagher. Yes, that's the 4-car freight train at the moment, with Matt Stewart trying to hang on as well. That's the 5-car freight train in the battle for 11th, but they've got 3.5 seconds to catch Birchnell. So at this stage, Dench will be trying his utmost to get to the front of that train as quickly as possible to then get out in pursuit of Birchnell. Go for it, Liam.
He definitely will. It's not going to take him long at the pace he was showing just in that small clip there. You could see how far back he was going into the chicane. And as soon as he came out of the chicane, he was right with the 2 cars ahead. And in fact, he's already got Andrew Dutch. That's put him up into 12th. One more car in this pack. That's Scott Worden ahead of him in the Audi. You got to back him to get past him pretty soon. And then the chase is on for Daniel Birchnell in 10th place. And the reverse grid top 10, that is the prize for Matty Dench here. He's not going to be able to get all the way to the podium, I can't imagine. Although, saying that, look at the gaps ahead of Scott Worden. If he can get to Scott Worden, he's within that battle pack that Worden is at the back of. Birchnell is at the back of, goes all the way up to 7th place. Then there's only 1.5 seconds to 6th, who is in a battle pack with 5th. So if he can catch Daniel Birchnell, anything is possible in terms of where he can finish in this top 10, such as his pace. Last lap of 154.7, faster than everybody up to Sam Muir in 7th place, only the top 6 faster than that, and even then, not by much.
Not by much at all. It's very evenly matched, and that's a reflection of the competitiveness on a Monday night that we've had for quite some time here. 13 laps is the distance in this race. Adam Lavis has just updated that info bar at the top of the totem pole there on the left-hand side of your screen. We're 9 minutes into a 21-minute sprint race. We've got 8 laps to go when they cross the line here at the Nürburgring. Simon Cox, the leader, of course, reaped the reward last week when Matty Dench come unstuck with a drive-through penalty and a stop and hold at the boot circuit, the boot configuration of Watkins Glen. Now he's looking the goods here if he can fend off Richard Mitchum. And of course, Richard Mitchum threw everything at Matty Dench the week before and just missed out on coming up trumps. Now he bowls a wide, as Matty Nolte would say, at turn 1. And that gives Simon Cox a little bit of breathing space.
Yeah, I think he got caught out there by the breaking point of Simon Cox just a little bit earlier than he thought.
Very so much in this part of the circuit.
Yeah, it looked like he twitched to the left as he broke, which is a dead giveaway there. He was worried about hitting the car ahead, went deep, took the safe option and just gave up the time instead of risking colliding with the back of Simon Cox or even the inside of him had he decided to turn that late braking into a manoeuvre, which is what a lot of drivers do, and it doesn't work out well for them. So definitely taking the correct option there as we watch Matt Stewart, who's in a battle pack. This is the battle pack that Matty Dench just got through, so that's Scott Wooden ahead of him in the Audi, Andrew Dutch at the head of this pack, Matt Stewart in the middle, and then you've got Stephen Gallagher in the Porsche behind him, and then Jake Jackson, one of the stars of the previous race in the GT4s, behind him, and Andrew Dutch, who was at the lead of that field, is now going to be at the back because he has gone deep.
So, well, he's still ahead of Mark Foster, of course. He's Dutch, but he's the second last of the runners on the lead lap at the moment. John Wright is still a lap and 3/4 down on the top end of town. The Audi already staring down a date with the 9th row of the grid for the second race. It all went terribly wrong for him. He didn't even start on the grid. He started 2 laps down from pit lane, so I'm not too sure what that was about. Maybe a dropout, maybe a disconnection. We'll get to the bottom of that hopefully a little bit later on. So again, it's a small field, probably the smallest we've seen so far this season in Waste Options GT3, Adam Lavis, but it's the quality. It's still there.
I'm wondering if we're going to get to the 13. Why don't you do 12 laps here?
Actually, you make a good point. So actually, yeah, leave the calculations to me. 21 minutes. Yeah, you're right.
Well, Mark, where you going?
Whoa, Mark Foster! Having an unscheduled meeting with the tyre barriers. Then, unsafe entry into pit lane as well, just to put the icing on the cake. Oh, no. So, yeah, it's all happening here at the Nürburgring. So, good pick up from Davis that because we're only about 5 seconds beneath that threshold there of 2 minutes. 2 minutes in 22 would get you to.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. They might just sneak it in.
No. I'm actually leaning towards. It's 21 minutes, isn't it?
Yes.
21 minutes. So 1:54. So Okay, shave 5 seconds off a lap, so 11.5 would get you 6 laps, and then there's only 10 from there. I've got a feeling it might only run 11. You might get to 12, but it might only run 11 based on those numbers.
Possibly, maybe.
All right, keep an eye on that. We might get rid of that lap counter at the moment and just go back to time if we can, because I think that's going to be closer to the mark.
Well, even if it only...
Coming inside goes Richard Mitchum with the big sun down to the last corner, and he couldn't quite get it done. Simon Cox under tremendous pressure at the moment. Richard Mitchum with a huge send to make the statement that he's there and he means business. And they're dragging Glenn Arnott and Oscar Glissett into this as well. Sorry to jump in on the top of you there, Liam. My goodness gracious me, what a send from Richard Mitchum.
I'm going to see another send here. Richard Mitchum shaping up around the outside. Is he going to go all the way around outside? No, he's going to cut back though. Matt Stewart taking a very defensive line there. He's going to have a really good run up here. If he cuts back again, this might end up quite nicely for him. This is the next corner. This is where it's all going to kick off. No. Not able to carry enough extra speed there. Just wanted to call out, if Matty Dench is going to make the top 10, he's going to have to get a move on.
Absolutely.
Not very often to say that.
Yep. No.
Only half a second a lap quicker than Daniel Birchnell. If this only goes to 11 laps, he's going to get to him, but he might catch him and not have the opportunity to overtake. Really needs to up his pace if he's going to do it.
Great observations from you, Liam Banks, as well. I've got 3 different things going on here at the moment at my end, ladies and gentlemen. Something to do with the real world stuff that I'm doing in 6 weeks' time. Something, of course, to happen with, I've got personal messages coming in. Harper wanted to, like my little niece Harper wanted to FaceTime me tonight, but I sent her the message last night. She completely ignored it. So I've postponed her to tomorrow night. Now, of course, we've got a great GT3 scrap unfolding before our eyes. So if I seem a little bit distracted, it's only because there's 1,000,001 things going on in the commentary box, and I don't have the greatest attention span. Through they go. Simon Cox, Richard Mitchum, Glenn Arnott and Oscar Glissett. Is Glissett close enough to have a send on Arnott as well? Glenn Arnott's been one of the great improvers of this season, hasn't he, Adam?
Oh, definitely. Here we go again. Oh, no, look.
Oh, not quite. Not quite. Simon Cox is driving just defensively enough to give Mitchum a sniff, but not an opportunity.
Well, the biggest downside is Richard practices that too much. Cox is going to be well aware of it and put the big defender on the last lap. So you have to find somewhere else if he keeps trying that same move.
Yeah, they're not going to get past 11, boys. It's going to be 3 laps. It's 5.5 minutes from here to that clock elapsing at 21, and we know that a minute 55, which is the pace they're running at the moment, a minute 55 times 3 is 5:45. So yeah, this is 11 laps this opening race, and that might also mean that we don't hit our lap target in the second race. We go time certain there as well, depending upon how Adam set that up. So keep an eye on that.
I haven't seen that in the commentary booth, but I'm sure.
No, neither have I.
Adam will quickly investigate. Just want to call out. I think Scott Wooden's had an accident. He's just fallen down the field, and is now 7 seconds behind the battle pack that he was in. So he's had a bit of drama. Jake Jackson's making the moves down the pack. He was behind Stephen Gallagher. He's now in 12th place ahead of Dutch Gallagher and Stewart.
The unfortunate reality of that as well, mates. Of course, we still have 4 manufacturers in the top 4. We still have 5 in the top 10. But now all the Audis, the 6th of the 8 available manufacturers in GT3 that are at our disposal, we've got 6 manufacturers out there. Unfortunately, the Audis are 16th, 17th and 18th in real strife. So next time round, all the Audis, the only way is up.
Yeah, they're really out of you this race. Daniel Birchnell there looking like he just got past Jonathan Hooper. If he didn't get past, they're having a very close battle. I saw their names swapping on the screens.
As well, because look who's there with them. Look who's there with them. So can we go and have a look at that battle? Birchnell, Hooper, and the more they argue and squabble and fight, look who's there. Dench to get back to 10th. Can he get the job done on the inside? No. Not close enough to have a crack and send it. 2 laps to go at the Nürburgring. That's it. There will be no change.
Denchi listened earlier on where we said he needed to pick up his pace. Took a second out of over a second out of Jonathan Hooper on the last lap. Of course, helped by Hooper and Birchnell fighting out, and that's what I'm right here. That is a brilliant move, but Hooper's got the inside for the next corner, so Matty Dench is going to really be brave and hang it around the outside and get it done.
Oh, tough as nails around the outside. Brilliant stuff from Matty Dench. Did well. Got it done. Cox, Mitchum, Arnott, Glissett, Coleman and Hewitt the top 6 at the moment. But the big developing story is that Matty Dench has himself in invert territory, which could spell trouble for everybody else in the top 10 when we get to race 2. Because Denchy will be filthy with himself for mucking it up the first time round, and he's not known to make the same mistake twice.
Certainly not, and look at that wounded car. Like a wounded animal, he saves his biggest fight for when he really needs it. When the chips are down, he brings it out smashing, and he always seems to find a way to get himself in the mix for the next race, whether that's making it into the top 10 in race 1 so that he's there for the feature race on pole position, or even just finishing 11th or 12th and making magic happen in the second race of the night.
Keep an eye on where the leaders are, Adam Lavis. I just want to go back to Simon Cox, if we may. They're coming through into the final sequence of corners now. Yes, the white flag should fly this time by the line. Let's have a look. Round they come, onto the main straight. Or are they just going to marginally squeeze in another lap? There's the line there. I think they might get away with it. Is there a white flag waving? No, they're going to get 12, but they're going to do every single one of those seconds required to get that 12th lap done in overtime, it would seem. And down the inside, Glissett had a big look at Arnott. Couldn't get it done. Right, so if the white flag's not waving, they're going to let this run to 12. Which will mean that touch and go, we will do, we'll do all of it in overtime. Yeah, Barney's not moving. Typical. Unsurprising from him, actually. But yes, I think they might have only got back to the line by a second.
I don't even think they had a second. I think they pinned it right on the the 5 second, the 1 minute 5.
Right, well, actually, that's a good point. Do we know which one is the actual? Is the finish line the first line?
Finish one's the earlier ones. One right at the top, right at the side.
Okay, and I think that might be what got them across the line then. I'm not too sure, but we will get to 12. So this was the replay of the move again. That's Stewart.
Oh, Scott Wood's gone way deep. He's just misjudged.
And if I was Scott Wood, I wouldn't be looking forward to the whack over the knuckles that's coming from race control for that.
It's so easy to do. If he's that far inside, you lose all your reference points, and all of a sudden you watch everyone accelerate. You're like, oh.
Now we're watching Sam Muir, so he's got Wayne Hewitt ahead of him. Very close. Wayne Hewitt looked like he was battling with Coleman a bit earlier on, but he's fallen back from Coleman and Glissett. Now he's under pressure from Sam Muir. Sam Muir is going to have to go around the outside. He's going to do it from there. No, he's going to cut back in, try and carry more speed for the chicane to set himself up for the hairpin. Just not enough of a overlapping speed to get down on the brakes. Next opportunity is going into turn 1, but it's going to be too far back for that. Checker flag's out. End of the race. Simon Cox takes the victory. Richard Mitchum in second, and Glenn Arnott rounds out the podium.
So, okay, so the checkered flag's out, but no one's waving it. Thanks, Barney. Just take the rest of the day off, son.
This reminds me of there's a couple of races a few years ago in the F1 where they waved the checkered flag a lap early. That's exactly what happened. Yeah. Some sort of celebrities in the box there and said Barney, and he's mucked it up.
Good old Barney.
Definitely no flags being waved.
Just the complete, total and utter useless
There's two of them there.
Display of incompetence that we've come used to from that prick.
They were at least holding the flag.
Yeah. Wave it, you idiots. No, Simon Cox gets another win. He did it last Monday night at the Glen. He does it here at the Nürburgring as well. The big story is that Matty Dench got back to 9th after an earlier race, circle out with the wall. How much damage was he... yeah, exactly. Thank you, Clint Collard. Just how much damage was he running with? To get back to 9th, that's just typical Dench doing Dench things, superhuman stuff. Simon Cox from Richard Mitchum held him off by 1.8 in the end. Then back to Glenn Arnott, Owen Coleman, Wayne Hewitt, Sam Muir, Nick Wood, Matty Dench and Daniel Birchnell. This was the defining moment.
That's sort of like a grazing blow, so he may have just had a bit of superficial damage, a little bit of straight line speed deficit. going for us. Last thing.
Oh boy, yeah, I agree. Barney playing silly buggers, Barney nodding off, Barney Barney would fit in well with Energex and their meter readers, actually, on the subject of people that can't do their job. Simon Cox, Richard Mitchum, Glenn Harnett, Oscar Goodson, and Owen Coleman, the top 5. Good run from Coleman. Wayne Hewitt in 6th place, then Sam Muir, Nick Wood, Matty Dench, and Daniel Birchnell. So Birchnell will get the invert. Ferrari will start on pole. How good's that going to be? Quickly, before we go any further, let's thank some people that without whom none of this would be possible.
So you had straight steering, so so your steering was good. It was probably a little bit of straight line deficit, but Dench's got plenty of speed to make up for that.
So he somehow, it's superhuman what Matty Dench is able to achieve here each and every week. We thought that this might be his championship coming unstuck. Let's hope it's not, because he is on track to complete the dozen championships between GT3 and Porsche GT3 on a Monday and a Wednesday/Thursday night this season. It's just incredible, the run that he's on at the moment. But sprint racing has been his Achilles heel every step of the way. Last week was a trip up in a 60-minute race, which we haven't become accustomed to. Let's thank all the people that make it possible for us to do what we do here on the platforms of the GSRC. They include Waste Options. They include Blackout Electrical Solutions. And also Systems. West Orange Motors. Astute Insurance, Finance and Wealth in East Brisbane. Fisher and Door Lawyers. I'll be one of their clients one day. Flash Graphics as well. Couldn't do it without Johnny Simpson and Chris. GSRC.Shopify.com if you want any GSRC merch throughout the course of the season as well. Go, Adam.
I was just going to say also, week 8, so there's only like 3 or 4 weeks for the new season. So if anyone else is interested in joining up and being a sponsor for next season, let the community get in
lost
touch.
Adam there for a moment. Not sure what's going on. But that's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now. What was that?
So just letting you guys know, just remember that we're at week 8, so there's only like 3 or 4 weeks till the new season 3 of the year. So if anyone out there is interested in joining up and being a sponsor of a series or just a club sponsor in general, give the committee a hit up, and we can see if we can make it work for you.
Copy that. Thank you. And don't forget GSRCmerch.myshopify.com for all your merch requirements. Don't forget the Login Systems GT3 Endurance Championship continues on the 25th of June as well. Only 3 weeks away now, when we go to Mount Panorama Bathurst for 8 hours. But in the meantime, sprint racing will keep us entertained in GT3 circles. Liam Banks, what were your observations of the opening race? What were your thoughts?
I thought it was really interesting how closely matched for pace the top 8 or so were. Not much of a gap opening up between the top 2 or 3 and the rest of the top 10. Of course, we don't really know how Matty Dench compares to them. He's carrying a little bit of damage and he was fighting through traffic. But I suspect Matty Dench, given that nobody broke away from the pack in race 1, I suspect Matty Dench is going to have too much pace in this race, but we'll have to wait and see.
They're pulling off behind the safety car right now, ready to rock and roll. Second race of the night. How many laps is this one scheduled for, Adam? And how short of the mark will we fall?
It'll update when they cross the
Right, gotcha. Thank you. Ready to rock and roll. Birchnell, Dench front row. Woodmuir second row. Hewitt, Coleman third row. Glissett, Hunnett, Mitchum, Cox. Let's get ready to rumble. Race 2 of the night underway. Watch Denchy immediately get on the attack here against Daniel Birchall and look for an inside run and get to turn 1. Birchall leads them down the hill. And how long can he keep Matty Dench at bay for? To turn 1 we go. Elbows out further back. Everybody playing rather aggressively but kindly, nicely as they get through. No sign of any trouble in the first corner. 18 starters, but 3 outies, bringing up the rear of the field. The only way is forward for them. Matt Stewart and Stephen Gallagher have already swapped around, so too Jake Jackson and John Hoover. Andrew Dutch remains 13th where he started. Mitchum already on an early charge, up 2 spots. Glissett and Arnott down 1, but Simon Cox remains in 10th place where he started. action aplenty on the opening lap. Birchnell, Dench, Wood, Muir lead them down the hill to the hairpin to begin to climb up the hill for the first time.
So the schedule's 22, but that's pretty much it. With only 37 minutes and a 2-minute lap, that's pretty optimistic.
No way in hell are we getting there. No, not at all. In fact, given that we've also got a pit lane transit, I'm gonna say 19 is about.
Yeah, I'm guessing when I've looked up the world records, I must have done the one that doesn't use the bottom this next section, the bottom hairpin there.
Yep, gotcha.
Must have grabbed the wrong track limit for the lap times.
Yeah, just thinking. 19, 20, yeah, 19 times 2 is 48. But we know that we can shave a minute off that. That'll get us back to 30. Yeah, no, 19's good fishing. 19's good fishing. 19's good fishing because there's also a slash and dash required in that as well. So, yeah, we'll fall 3 laps short of the mark, I would say, and 2 laps short early in the piece. Down the main straight, 1 done, 3 wide, a little bit further back, mid-pack there at the moment. They tuck back in, 152.96 for Daniel Birchnell, off the line in this second race. Birchnell and Dench lead into the first corner. Here comes Simon Cox under some pressure. Up in a 9th spot, gets the better of Glenn Arnott and Jake Jackson. Let's get back to Liam Banks. Your thoughts so far?
So interesting to see Simon Cox on that first lap. Very defensive, not attacking at all. Waited until the final corner to make his first move. Just waiting for the cars to space out a little bit. Make sure he survives the first lap. Now he's going on the attack. It'll be interesting to see how long it takes him to get on the back onto the back of Richard Mitchum. Gap now just over a second. And then how long it takes him to get past the likes of Lysa, Hewitt, Coleman, who all had very similar pace in race 1. But Simon Cox, he's in a championship battle with Matty Dench. Yes, it's unlikely, 50 points to gap now. But if he wants any chance of getting into that and making that a proper fight for the last 2 races, he needs to get to the front of this race. So a defensive first lap, that's okay, but now he's got to turn it on, flip the switch and get really aggressive to catch back up to Dench before Dench can get past Birchnell. Just saw replay Scott Warning going off track. Let's have a look here. This is Matty Dench live.
Yeah, it is.
Right behind Birchnell.
So keep your eyes peeled on that, because that is the defining, the telling factor here. The fact that Birchnell has been able to keep Dench at bay for so long until now. A lap and 3/4 to the good for Daniel Birchnell, but Dench finally finds his way to the front. So now, Matty Dench sees daylight and can take off. Wayne Hewitt trying to get down on the inside of Owen Coleman, can't get it done. Look at the freight train there. Birchnell's at the head of the chasing pack. But Dench has already cleared out and is 0.7 to the good. And I expect that margin, with no disrespect to Birchnell, Wood, Muir or anybody else that's following the train through the climb. Glissett down the inside of Hewitt. Glissett down the inside of Hewitt. Can he pull it up on the exit? Oh boy. 154.138 for Matty Dench. Only surpassed, if you don't mind, by car 64, which was Simon Cox. 154.13, I should say. So identical times for Cox and Dench that time around. To the 10,000th of a second though, Cox was faster.
Yeah, the field spread, the only difference between Simon Cox and Matty Dench with that identical lap time. However, Dench is in clean air. Simon Cox, he's right on the gearbox of Richard Mitchum, basically shoving his car up the tailpipe. That's not going to help him. He's got to find a way through. He's got to get aggressive, got to get through these right now, and he's going to start with Mitchum here, looking to go around the outside. That's not going to work for him, but is he going to get a better run out of this corner, get on the throttle a bit earlier, keep it a little bit tighter, and give himself the momentum into this left-hander to get up the inside? No. Oh, this is costing him time. These are precious moments for Matty Dench up front.
Indeed they are. Adam.
It's one of those things that these two came first and second in the last race, so they both got a similar pace. So battling amongst themselves could be a detriment. It might be worth, if they can work together to try and get through the field, would be probably the ideal thing if they're both on board.
Mitchum just not close enough to Lysa to really attack. He really needs to get another couple of attempts closer and really show that he is pushing to move forward. At the moment, you look at those gaps, there's definitely clearly a larger gap between Gleiser and Coleman and Hewitt, and there is from Gleiser down to...
Coleman's getting mugged.
Oh, Coleman, the floodgates have opened. He's dropped 4 spots.
I think he may have got to slow down.
that.
He may have got to slow down to the chicane.
Quite possibly. And it's a costly one as well. Hewitt, Glissett, goodbye. Mitchum and Cox go through as well. Coleman down 3 spots now. Next target for him is Jake Jackson. Jake Jackson is eyeing off Coleman. Coleman will be the next target for Jake Jackson. Now car 1:53.25.
Yeah, that's a message to the rest of the field that they have not got what it takes to go with Matty Dench here.
Haven't got a hope in hell.
I'm not Morris in tonight. I just want to call out Mitchum defending from Simon Cox. That's because he's in third in the championship. He doesn't want Cox to get past because he still thinks he can take second in the championship from Cox.
1:53.25 for Matty Dench, Daniel Birchnell, Nick Wood and Sam Muir, and there was some garbage unfolding with Jonathan Hooper at the centre of it. Through the arena section of the circuit. Oh no! Off goes Granada. Undone comes his good run. That is costly. He drops now outside the top 15 and drops down to last in the field. 18th now for Glenn Arnott, and this is how it come undone.
Did you see his brake lights come on mid-corner, carrying too much speed, tried to scrub the speed off, hit the brakes a little bit, that shifts the center of weight to the front of the car. That's what's unloaded the rear. Have a look again if we can. This is him trying to make a position back up and then hitting the car ahead. That's not what we like to see. Just getting a little bit impatient there. Knew he was faster than the car ahead.
Oh, it's live.
His own mistake.
And the 2 there's Wayne Hewitt. That's live. Wayne Hewitt is pointing the wrong way. Second last corner, and now he's reversing back up into the wall. Wayne Hewitt will be on the tow rope and in pit lane, and possibly out of business. Yep, indeed. He's on the tow rope and his night is done. Back to the front. Richard Mitchum down the inside of Glissett. Glissett leaves the door open and allows Mitchum to go through, but he hangs there on the inside to try and get him back through turn 2. Can't get it done. Oh, Mitchum's wide. Mitchum's wide. Down the inside goes Glissett, and Cox is still there as well. Watch for Simon Cox. Richard Mitchum feeling the pinch here. Terrific scrap this. And Owen Coleman lurking in the shadows as well. Sam Muir all over the back of Nick Wood, all over the back of Daniel Birchnell. 3-way fight for position number 2. What is interesting here is the lack of movement early in the piece, Liam. The fact that Matt Stewart's up 5 spots, Jake Jackson's up 3, Simon Cox and Richard Mitchum up 3, but we've been running 5 laps. They have not made inroads on Matty Dench, Sam Muir or Nick Wood.
Yeah, and it's like Adam said, they had very similar pace in race 1. Basically, where they qualified was sort of the order they finished in. There weren't too many big movers or shakers, so all similar pace. So they're all fighting like this, and they're all costing each other time in that battle to get to the front of the pack with the first 3 or 4 cars. And Birchnell, Wood, Muir, they're just running the race they want. Birchnell finished 9th last race, but his pace was close enough that when the likes of Gleiser, Cox, Mitchum, Coleman, Jackson, they're all finding each other, they're not going to catch up to him. So what these guys really need to do, sort out their order and get a move on to try and catch the top 4.
Simon Cox, we're riding on board with him.
Big slide there, Richard. Just got the rear slide in the entry.
Beautiful. Racecraft 101 from Simon Cox. Saw an opportunity, went for it. Saw that Mitchum left the door ever so marginally open and went for it. So, the question is, so let's think about this tactically and theoretically. We're on lap 5. We're projecting 19 on my calculations. Because they'll lose about a minute and a half out of 30. So they'll gain about a minute and a half out of 38 minutes in terms of coming back to this side of 37. It'll be about 36 and a half by the time they complete 19. However, they've got to also factor into the equation the transit, the pit stop, the run down pit lane. So that could be the only thing that determines the difference between 19 laps and 20 laps here. But if they do get to 20 laps, I promise you, gentlemen, that it will only be in the last 5 seconds of that 37. And that will depend on the pace being set by M. Dench. Owen Coleman with another off-track. Another excursion for Owen Coleman. That time more costly than the first. He dropped down to 10th place. Matt Stewart up 6 spots into 9th. Jake Jackson into 8th, up 4 spots. It just looked as though Owen Coleman got a little bit checked up there and pulled the brake. So, unfortunate for him, unlucky. Back we go to Nick Wood. Nick Wood is, of course, chasing Daniel Birchnell. Birchnell under pressure now from 2 men, both the BMWs, Wood and Muir. Then Blissett, Cox and Mitchum in that next battle pack. Matty Dedge in the meanwhile, Liam, 5 seconds up the road already.
Yep, only man in the 1:53s and nobody else even close to the 1:53s. Second faster than everybody else in the field. And you know what? He's been in the lead for about 5 laps and he's 5 seconds clear. Don't see anyone catching him from here unless we see another Matty Dench mistake. But we know it can happen. We saw it in race 1. Nothing to say that's not going to happen in race 2. And we have a cracking race for second, which is what we got on our screen right now. Nick Wood in the middle of a sandwich, a Ferrari on top and a BMW behind him. Birchnell in second place, has held it ever since he lost the lead to Matty Dench. Nick Wood, Samuel, they're where they started, 3rd and 4th. And now that Alpac, that Oscar Gleiser at the head of it, is just starting to catch up. The gap was close to 3 seconds. It's now 1.72 seconds and getting smaller all the time. So I think now that Battle Pack's sorted itself out a little bit, the gap's a little bit larger. They're just starting to close in on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th whilst they start to increase the intensity of their battle. This could be a 7-car Battle Pack for 2nd place in a couple of laps time. And that will be spicy.
Here we go. All happening here at the Nürburgring. We're on Dench watch to see how big that margin's going to be.
Oscar Glissett and Simon Cox dipped in the 53s last lap.
So Glissett on a march. Well, he kind of needs to get on the hop, skip and jump as well because oh no! There goes Glenn Arnott again! That one looks more terminal.
Yeah, the engine just blew up.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Back we go. Birchnell in 2nd place at the moment, under pressure from Nick Wood. Nick Wood will have a look down the inside here. In the meantime, this is what happened to Glenn Arnott again. Right, now, 2 questions here, boys. Oh, jeez. 2 questions here. Bang. That'll do it. Every day of the week. 2 questions. Glenn Arnott's off track, not moving. He hasn't even got on the tow rope yet. Now, can Nick Wood still get down on the inside of Birchnell? No, but have a look at Muir up around the outside. Muir trying to get up the outside. Now the inside. Muir on Wood. Muir to the inside. Muir trying to get to 3rd. Muir to 3rd. He'll have his nose in front on the exit of the corner. Wood will get the inside running through the right-hander. But Wood's going to be able to cover him up around the outside. And look at Oscar Glissett coming through as well. Oscar Glissett down the inside to go into 4th place. The floodgates have opened at Nick Wood's expense. And now here comes Simon Cox and Richard Mitchum as well. Going off what Grant Gill was saying, I am going to lean on you here, Banksy, for a few more insights. And thank you, Grant. We'll see you Thursday night. Looking forward to it as well. Andrew Dutch now showing off the road too. But he's got back on. Glenn Arnott's still parked down there at the hairpin, so not too keen on moving anywhere just yet. He might be tactically sitting there waiting for him to deploy a safety car. It's not going to happen.
I'm wondering,
it's not going to happen.
The way that sort of twitches stuff, and then he didn't slow down. I'm wondering if he's a goggle user and he's VO went black on him.
That's true. Yeah, good point. Now he's got on the tow rope. Might have been a dropout. Could be an issue because he's now got on the tow rope and he's in pit lane and has been for 12 seconds. So a couple of things we've got to look at here, Banksy. One is just how far up the road Matty Dench is going to end up being on Daniel Birchnell, and whether that's going to... now, Cox and Mitchum dive to pit road. That was the second point. So Dench is obviously going to drag the train along. Could take us to lap 20, as opposed to the 19 we are anticipating. But the second thing is... that we look at Yeah, we are anticipating 19. 20 could be a stretch, but if anyone's going to get us there, it is Matty Dench. Just let's have a look at the transit time for these guys and see how long they spend in pit lane, and then I can start calculating back from 37 minutes. There's still 21 and a quarter to go. Adam?
So Richard got a couple of tyres, not a full set. He would have just got either a rears or a side. No tyres for Simon Cox. And Richard's managed to jump with the fuel track. So these two will be now looking to undercut the other guys. They would have been catching that group. They would have now seen that there was 4 or 5 cars ahead, a bit of a wall of traffic. And rather than trying to pass them on track and waste time, they're going to get clear track and try and maximise.
Absolutely. They've proven they've got pace as well. Both their best lap, a 1 minute 54, dead or thereabouts. And currently the lap times for those from second down to fifth in that battle pack, 155s is what they're doing. So they've definitely got the pace to do it, but can they do it on a full tank of fuel?
Gallagher just had an on-off track, but he's back on.
Here we're watching Sam Muir. So he's got Daniel Birchnell ahead of him. Look at how that gap has increased. Birchnell under all sorts of pressure just before, just a couple of laps ago. But now he's got a bit of breathing room. And it's Sam Muir who's got Oscar Galeisa and Nick Wood within half a second of him. Not half a second each, both within half a second of Sam Muir. And Nick Wood shaping up to get past Galeisa, deciding better off it, which can perhaps not the best opportunity, particularly if he can do what he's doing here. Trying to carry more speed and does it too well. Taps the back of Sam Muir, and that is all she wrote. However, I think he'll dive into the pit lane.
He's been caught out because Oscar's backed off to go to the pits and caught out.
Yep. And how lucky as well. So we'll have another look at that in a moment. How lucky that the car that got the nudge didn't go as well. So Wood comes to pit road. So too Glycet. Let's have a look at this again. Wood all over the back of Glycet like a cheap suit. And yep, that's all she wrote. Glycet having a look down there on the inside, knowing full well that he would have tactically been planning to make a narrow exit to come straight to pit road. Wood wouldn't have been aware of it. So incidents do happen, and yet again, Nick Wood on the receiving end of misfortune. And how many times has it happened in the last couple of weeks in GT4 and GT3 as well? So the second point, so let's just quickly, 19.2s get us to 38. We've got a 37-minute window. We know that the boys are clocking around about that 1 minute 54 bracket at the moment. So if we take 6 seconds off 10 laps there, maybe make it 5. We're going to come back to that 37 marker. Don't worry about that. I don't think we're going to lose enough time or gain enough time through the pit lane transit to get this to 20 laps. I think it's 19. Dench will take us to 19. He's on lap 10 at the moment. The pit lane the hold time, the stop time, has fluctuated between 10, 11, 12 and 13 seconds for those that have stopped so far. Mitchum, Cox, Wood, Stewart and Dutch. In fact, Mitchum, interesting observation, Simon Cox was out in 11.2, but Richard Mitchum out in 9.87. So just keep an eye on that as well, because Mitchum has track position over Cox at the moment. The question to you, Liam Banks, now that we have a look at the rest of it, well, obviously we've found our critical number here. These guys can stop and get home.
Probably lap 15 maybe. I can't imagine they're going to get too much deeper into this race and be able to get home. However, what we don't know is how much fuel saving everybody is doing. You just made the point, Richard Mitchum taking less fuel than Simon Cox. Is that because he's underfueled, or is that because he was better on the fuel in the stint and that enabled him to take a shorter stop? But most importantly, both of them coming out ahead of Gleiser and Wood. So that's an effective overtake that's occurred in the pit stops, and they're pretty well clear of Gleiser as well. 3.5 seconds, which tells me they have absolutely got the pace to jump everyone up to Birchnell if they don't pit and cover them soon.
And already Dench has 10 seconds on Daniel Birchnell. It's emphatic.
Just his PB, 53.7, and Cox a 53.8, so they've now joined the 53 club.
Neck and neck.
Which is the same speed. Two. That's what Denchi's currently doing. Denchi's also doing 53.8s.
On the back of doing a 53.2 earlier in the piece as well. So they are dragging it along ever so marginally quicker than what they were in the first race. But then from Birchnell and Muir back to Jackson is another 10 seconds as well. So the margins have bloomed out now that we're partway through that pit sequence with the field cleansing. Top 9 yet to stop. Keep an eye on that.
Yeah, also talking about those gaps, important gap to point out, Richard Mitchum's got 8 seconds of clear air before he gets to Stephen Gallagher. So it's not like he's going to catch the back of those who haven't pitted and then get slowed down, which could give an opening for Birchnell Muir to pull that gap back out and get ahead. I think the race is already Mitchum just going far too quick, over a second faster than Birchnell and Muir last lap. I think right now they're coming out ahead of them, so unless Birchnell and Muir can do something special, that's it. The battle for the podium spots is now Cox and Glisser and Cox and Mitchum, and there's only a second between the two of them. However, we're watching the actual people in the podium positions right now, and that is Birchnell and Muir. Don't count them out. They've shown flashes of incredible pace earlier on, just not doing it right now. Perhaps being a little bit heavier on their tyres to achieve that lap time means they're a bit slower at the back end of the stint, but they're going slower than cars on full fuel that have taken a stop. So they're going to need to correct that if they want to be in this battle for the podium positions. But even so, both doing an excellent job. Finished 9th and 10th on pace in race 1. They're in 2nd and 3rd. They've been in 2nd and 3rd all race, and that's Nick Wood pointing the wrong way again. Let's have a look what's happened here. Looks like he's got unstuck at the final corner.
And it's just going from bad to worse for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. It's amazing how when you make one mistake, the mistakes keep coming. It happens in motorsport, it happens in golf, it happens in a lot of sport. As soon as something knocks that bit of confidence, that flow, state you get into where you almost don't need to think about the driving and you can free up your brain to think about other things because it's so second nature, you just keep making mistakes. And he'll reset and go again next week, I'm sure. Birchnell and Muir, though, driving very well. Hopefully, they'll be looking to get into the top 5 if they can keep this pace up, because although Cox and Mitchum are driving faster at the moment, they have got the legs on Gleiser, from what I can see. And here we go, about to get around to Birchnell into the pits. Now, it'll be interesting to see what Sam Muir can do now that he's been released. Was he sat behind Birchnell on purpose? And did he have extra pace? Or was that where his pace dictated he should be anyway?
Was it tactical? Yeah, to try and just stretch that fuel mileage. Good point. So continue along the pit lane here, watching Daniel Birchnell come in. And where he comes out will be an interesting piece of the puzzle sorted here as well. Can the likes of Mitchum and Cox one up him? Round they come onto the main straight. Suspicion is that yes, they will be able to. Birchnell's still in his box. Birchnell's not moving just yet. Now he is, but it's too late because Mitchum and Cox have gone. The horse is bolted.
Yeah. He is going to come out ahead of Gleiser, though. Looks like it's going to be close on the exit. So this Gleiser, there's Birchnell. Oh, not as close as I thought it was going to be. So Birchnell well ahead. I doubt he'll have taken new tyres. If he has, it would have been only one side, so he won't have any time issues. So he should be able to hold on to that position fairly comfortably. So, and Gleiser's going to have to do it on pure pace.
Oscar's taking 13 seconds of fuel, so he's taking a bit longer to stop. So that's costing me a bit of time there, about 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's the difference between pitting a bit earlier and a bit later as well, potentially. Yeah, 13 seconds by far the most out of those in the competitive running. Stephen Gallagher and Andrew Dutch, the only two other drivers to have taken 13 seconds of fuel. Interesting to note there's 3 different manufacturers represented there, so there's definitely not a difference in the car. It is just a difference in how safe they wanted to play it with the fuel. Those drivers evidently decided they wanted to be safe in case there is that extra lap that we were talking about, and everybody else deciding they're going to go aggressive. Interesting to see how Richard Mitchum fares at the end of this race, given that he has taken substantially less fuel than just about every other driver. Nick Wood, the only driver within half a second in fuel times of him. Everybody else taking over a second extra fuel. So now we've got Dench Muir and Coleman in pits.
My guess with the guys who've taken 13.5 seconds is they're probably relying on the new feature with the iRacing auto fuel. But if they haven't changed their margin, it gives them a whole lap more fuel than I think, which could end up being 2 laps here if it is as close as we think it is.
Yeah, and around here, such a long lap as well. There's a little bit extra fuel than you get at the likes of, say, the Red Bull Ring, where a lap is much shorter, much less fuel is required. Matty Dench comes out in the lead of the race by 10 seconds over Richard Mitchum. That's not a surprise. Owen Coleman, Jonathan Hooper, Scott Wooden, and John White, they're all in the pits. Just exiting the pits now is Coleman and Wright. They're going to fall well down out of the top 7. So, pit correct, let's have a look at your standings. You've got Matty Dench in the lead, Richard Mitchum in second, 13 seconds behind. Matty Dench also overtaking just under 10 seconds of fuel. I will note there, so that makes me think Richard Mitchum's got it right on the fuel. Simon Cox, he's in third place, within just outside of a second of Richard Mitchum. Daniel Birchnell 4 seconds behind. He's got Muir and Gleiser resuming their battle from the port before the pit stops. They're in 4th, 5th and 6th, and that is the closest battle pack on the track by far. Jake Saxon is 8 seconds behind, and that's Owen Coleman. Look at the rear end
Third
squirming.
off-track excursion in this race alone. Dutch gets by Gallagher. We've got Daniel Birchnell on screen here with Sam Muir chasing. Close toe at the moment, and so too there is Oscar Glissett. So it's a 3-way fight for 4th. The top 3, unsurprisingly, are Dench, Mitchum, and Cox. We've got 5 different manufacturers in the top 5. Oscar Glissett doubling up for Lambo there in 6th place at the moment. Jake Jackson, Matt Stewart, Nick Wood, good fight back from John Wright. Audi in the top 10, so 6 different manufacturers in the 10 at the moment. We've completed lap 14. We're on 15. Now, that's an interesting point. That's an interesting point. I said earlier, didn't I, that we had a 37-minute window and Dench might just be able to drag this to 20. He got back to the line after 14 laps in 27 minutes. This gets dragged to 20 because of the pace of M. Dench. This will get dragged to 20 laps because of the pace of Matt Dench. There'll be about a minute and probably a minute and a quarter of overtime, or a minute and 20 of overtime, or something like that. But Dench is going to drag this to 20 based on the pace we're seeing at the moment.
So there we just seen Coleman catching the curb on the inside, perhaps a little bit of the grass even, and that's just pulled his car around. And then he does the smart thing, backs on the accelerator, gets himself on the grass, way out the way of anybody making that corner with anything like a normal line, and then rejoins safely. We're now resuming that battle between Birchnell, Muir and Gleiser. This is a battle for 4th place on the road, and the first beneficiary should one of the podium drivers come unstuck. Perhaps, you know, Cox and Mitchum, they've got a battle that might occur towards the end of this race with only a second between them. You want to be in 4th place to make sure you're on the beneficiary if anything goes wrong. And Gleiser, we know, is not afraid to put on a bold move when he needs to. But we've seen that Lamborghini make some audacious overtakes throughout this season, so don't put him out of the running, even though he's at the back of this pack. Sam Muir has been fast all season long, and Daniel Birchnell, he's, you'd say, the most out of position out of the 3 compared to where they've been over the season, compared to where they've been in race 1. That's not anything against Birchnell. He's having a fantastic race, but he is 10th in the championship, and he's currently sat in 4th place, so he's having one of the strongest. Hopefully, for his sake, he can stay there, but he's got work cut out for him with Sam Muir and Oscar Gleiser behind him. Muir is in 10th in the standings, joint with Birchnell, so that's interesting. That's going to be a tasty battle. And then Gleiser is in 7th in the standings, so you've got to back him as a favourite for this battle, except he is at the back. So he's got all the work to do. All Birchnell needs to do is defend, and we saw how well he could defend in the first stint.
Dench, Mitchum, Cox, 1, 2 and 3. The battle for second is still not sorted as yet. Dench's lead is 12.8. How sweet's redemption for Dench. This battle here, however, holding our attention and captivating our imagination from first until last. Ferrari v BMW v Lambo. We've got 2 retirements thus far. One being Glenn Arnott, the other being Wayne Hewitt. Everybody else still on the lead lap. And a field of 16 left. 16 of them are left out there at this point. Dench the leader, Mitchum second. I'd forget about Dench. He's just in a different postcode in this race. He was always going to be starting at the top end of 10. It only took him 11 3/4 to get by Daniel Birchnell, and then he just took off. Birchnell doing a great job, however, I think, boys, after finishing 10th in the opening race, and to still be in the top 5 this deep into it.
Yeah, doing an incredible job. And the thing is, even though he's been defending, he's never really looked at that under pressure. There's no points where he's sitting him really side by side with someone, you know, really having to get his elbows out. He's just been placing his car well, doing it smart, defending where he needs to, not defending air, and it's shown in the result. And that's Matty Dench back in pit lane.
Are you kidding me? For the second week in a row, Matty Dench finds himself back in pit lane. This late in the piece. And another victory goes begging. And it's another championship defining moment. So all of a sudden the battle between Mitchum and Cox is for the race win. Now what is this for?
That's got to be a penalty.
This
based
has
on
to
how
be a
long
penalty.
it's been.
He's been there for 16.1 seconds. Now what's that all about? And also, keep an eye on the clock as well. Next time they come across the line, I think we're going to be okay. I think we're now still going to get to 20 because Matty Dench has just dragged the pace along.
So I was just looking, because that was his last off track he had. So I was wondering if he got a slowdown, didn't quite clear in time. Maybe that's not a pace. So
No,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure unless he's. And it's not even a incident point. Because incident points are usually drive-throughs. So as you were saying, one of the top 3 was giving this guys a podium battle, but it wasn't the one of the top 3 you were expecting for it to drop out.
No,
Absolutely
exactly.
not.
No, not at all. And he's come back out in 7th place. And we've got 5 manufacturers in the top 5 still, but the Lambo is 5th now, not 1st. So Richard Mitchum and Simon Cox will duke it out for race honours. Mitchum threw everything out of it a couple of weeks ago with Matty Dench in an earlier round of the championship and missed out because, actually, Denchy was... Actually, that's a good point. Grant Gill. Oh, no. So this update has a couple of bugs, is Clint Collard's comment. And...
The question whether Dench is
Grant Gill's asking the
self-handicapping.
question. Yeah, whether he's self-handicapping or not. I don't think so. Down to turn 1, the battle for 3rd. Now, yes, just confirming as well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get to 20 laps here. Richard Mitchum and Simon Cox going along at a pace that will get us to 20 laps, despite the fact that they were 12 down the road from Dench.
This is spicing up here.
This is really spicing up now because these guys know that there's a podium position at stake.
Too spicy.
Oh, no, there goes Daniel Birchnell. He cops a tag from Samuel and he's gone. Daniel Birchnell drops out of the top 3 and drops down to 5th place, and he might lose out to Jake Jackson in the fight now as well, because here comes Jackson as Birchnell still struggling to get back on the racetrack. Oh, disaster for Daniel Birchnell. Can you believe that? And Matty Dench now has a sniff at 6th all of a sudden.
Yeah, he comes across to Daniel Birchnell going slow because he's got a bunch of gravel on his tyres. He's not gone back up to speed. Probably lost a bit of confidence, not knowing where the car's going to be. And that's Samuel doing the right thing and redressing the position, even though it's taken him out of the podium position. Fair play to the sportsmanship from Samuel there. Just carried too much speed through that corner, more speed than Birchnell ahead of him. Didn't realise in time that he was going to tap the back of him. Just getting fair plays, decided he's going to do the right thing on track and give that position back to Daniel Birchnell, who really does deserve a better finish than what he's going to get here. He's still in 6th place, which is a good finish, but he really deserved to be in that podium fight until the end of the race.
And speaking of things heating up now, there's a different position online.
Yep, exactly. Just going back. Yeah, of course, it was Zandvoort where Richard Mitchum was throwing it all at Matty Dench, wasn't it? So, in this GT3 championship, and once more, he's now under pressure from Simon Cox for a race win, but he's in the opposite position to what he was in the fight with Dench. He was there in 2nd place throwing everything at him. Now it's 1st. Oh, actually, no, my apologies. It wasn't Zandvoort, it was Hockenheim. I'm getting the two sprint rounds mixed up. It was Hockenheim, of course. So, something about German tracks and Richard Mitchum and being at the pointy end of the tree. Very appropriate for the German car. Watkins Glenboot, of course, last week. Not a bad run there until he also fell foul of a pit lane penalty issued by iRacing. He and Dench tripped up last week. So out for redemption this week and going gangbusters is Richard Mitchum. Simon Cox will throw everything at it. It's a bit different when it's first, not second on the line. First at stake here, Richard Mitchum in the box seat to bring home the W. Half a lap from home in terms of this penultimate lap. They should get a white flag this time by the line. Simon Cox, Oscar Glissett, Matty Dench up to fourth now, getting past Jake Jackson. Daniel Birchnell out to sixth place. And Sam Muir and Nick Wood right there. So all of a sudden we've got a three-way fight for sixth, and Daniel Birchnell tearing his hair out because once more he has two cars breathing down his neck. Mitchum's coming into the final sector of the lap, and he'll start the last lap of the race this time by. And Sam Muir down the inside of Nick Wood, contact. They keep it relatively clean and Wood prevails into seventh place. And the other thing that's disappointing that's come out of that as well, Liam Banks, is we do start the last lap now. They've gone from having 5 different manufacturers in the top 5 to 3. We've lost Ferrari and BMW from that picture.
Yeah, we certainly have, which is a shame. And what this is going to do, though, is it's going to spice up the championship, isn't it? Because I think Cox is going to just about half the deficit to Dench. Yep. Given Cox's victory in race 1, and he's going to get a second podium in race 2. Could get better yet, although he's just dropped a bit further behind Mitchum, so I think the game might be up there. And just imagine if there hadn't been that incident between Muir and Birchnell, which have given Dench a free 2 positions, could have made things really tasty. As it is, it's going to make them half tasty because he's going to have a healthy lead going into the last two races, but not the kind of demanding lead that we've come to expect from Matty Dench.
So we are on the last lap. That is confirmation. Is the
Sam Muir's gone.
Oh, geez. Moment there for Sam Muir. Is Barney actually waving it this time round, or is he still slacking off?
I haven't seen. That's the clock starts thing where it starts accelerating.
Yeah, copy that. It goes from double speed to quadruple speed. Through we go. Last time, Richard Mitchum. Another victory that he probably would not have been expecting, would not have been anticipating. Up 8 spots, so too Simon Cox, Oscar Glissett up 4. It's an interesting podium, isn't it? Mitchum, Cox, Glissett, 1, 2 and 3. And Richard Mitchum, for the second time this season, will find his way to the top step of the podium on a night that once again has seen things go begging for the incumbent champion Matty Dench. Richard Mitchum chalks up another W in Germany. Magnificent stuff. Final winning margin, 0.42 of a second. Back to Oscar Glissett, then Matty Dench, Jake Jackson, Daniel Birchnell, Nick Wood, Sam Muir, Matt Stewart, and John Wright's going to get Audi in the top 10 as well. So there will be 6 different manufacturers in the top 10. Magnificent stuff. Here comes Jake Jackson holding off Daniel Birchnell, Nick Wood, and Sam Muir. Have a look at that. For a run to the line. 3 wide. Oh, Birchnell coughing. No, held off Nick Wood by 0.05 seconds. Magnificent entertainment on a Monday night. It doesn't disappoint. Have a look at this.
3 wide.
3 wide on the run to the line. See you, boys. Hello. Magnificent stuff. Who was wanting to 13th? Wooden goes to 12th, and Dutch in behind them. Coleman got 11th in the end, despite having more off-track runs than you'd like to admit to. But in the end, it was Richard Mitchum over Simon Cox, and another vitally important win for Richard Mitchum. And given that Wayne Hewitt tripped up tonight and didn't finish that second race, that's vitally important for Mitchum's aspirations of being third in this title fight at the end of the campaign. Magnificent stuff. And Simon Cox, another second place finish. The consistency of Simon Cox is to be applauded this season. And he continues to pile the pressure on Matty Dench. Dench, the incumbent champion. Dench, the guy that a couple of weeks ago had started having his name engraved on the trophy for the 6th consecutive time. All of a sudden, It's not done yet, Liam Banks. We've got 2 weeks to go, and there's still a bit on the line here. Dench is nowhere near as comfortable after a couple of uncharacteristic weeks.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to add to the intrigue of the last 2 races. And of course, we know the next race is Bathurst, which, if I remember right, Matty Dench said it's not his best track. And it's definitely a track that can lead to some unusual results, just such as the jeopardy at that track. And then that'll be a regular round, and then we've got the Enduro at the Red Bull Ring, so it could all come down to that. With so many points on the line in the Enduro, Matty Dench might find himself in a position where, let's face it, he's likely going to be in the lead of the championship, but he can't afford a retirement, can he, in the next 2 races? Otherwise, that's going to open the door for Simon Cox, particularly in the form he's in. He's driving absolutely superbly, and you wouldn't bet against Simon Cox when he's really on form. Now he's got a sniff of the title, perhaps being able to get a bit closer to Matty Dench and really put him under pressure, even if things do go well. So it's going to make it really interesting. And that battle between Mitchum and Cox for second in the championship isn't over yet. None of the top 3 can afford to make a mistake over the next 2 rounds at 2 incredibly difficult circuits.
Oh boy, catch your breath, everybody. Porsches 1 and 5, Lambos 3 and 4, and of course Simon Cox there in the Merc in 2nd place. 3 Bimmers 7th, 8th and 9th, and an Audi in 10th, and a Ferrari in 6th place. So 6 different manufacturers in the race, and 6 of them in the top 10. Shows you how competitive GT3 racing is at the moment. We're just standing by to wait to hear from a few of these drivers if they decide to join us post-race. Of course, I am expecting that we'll hear from Richard Mitchum, Simon Cox and Matthew Dench in all of that, although Denchy might be kicking himself when we have a look at what that does to the title fight. And he's already had a couple of trip-ups throughout the course of the season, hasn't he? We didn't see one of them, and that was, of course, the DNF at Zandvoort. We were off watching another split at the point in time. Then, of course, last week at the Glen. Now, 2 uncharacteristic results for him. Still top 10s, but certainly uncharacteristic in 9th and 4th for him here at the Nürburgring. Mark Foster confirming that the Audi is not a fun car to drive, alongside the, if you're talking to Chris Whitaker, the Ford POS, the old school Ford Fiat Supercar. Also the Renault Clio, apparently, in that catalogue as well. Also the Ford GT, funnily enough. So yeah, there's always 1 or 2 cars that aren't fun to drive at the top of everybody's list. Banksy, I think Daniel Birchnell, considering himself unlucky in all of that, it could have been a top 5. It probably should have been a top 5 finish. But by G, he held his own, didn't he? Throughout much of that second race. And how many times have we seen it when the invert, when those that are the beneficiaries of the invert go out there and do it justice? They go out there and make the absolute most of it.
It's wonderful to see, isn't it, when they do get the opportunity to shine at the front of the field. I mean, Birchnell was in line to inherit a podium up until that collision with Gleisart getting the podium in the end. But yeah, absolutely looked the part, looked like he belonged there. And I really hope he takes pleasure from the speed that he was able to show, the fact that he was able to keep cars that traditionally have been faster behind him, and hopefully that gives him a spur to really start challenging for positions in the top 5 across the next 2 rounds.
Very nicely done. We've got Matt Dench standing by. We've got Simon Cox here as well. Hey, Simon, well done, mate. Nice performance in that second race, and equally nice performance in the first race. You and Richard Mitchum sharing the spoils tonight, a first and a second respectively. He had your measure only just in that second race, and you were able to make the most of Matty Dench's